elven thing someone ever made about elves in Greyhawk. So yeah, thank you.
Very cool.
We need to make a wall of cool Greyhawk map stuff. Yeah. I'm going to, when Minnie is no longer around, and it's horrible to say that, but because she's blind, so we can't change anything, so we have to keep all the furniture in check. So when she's no longer around, I'll redo my office and stuff here, I think. Oh, yeah, I'm speaking about you. Yeah, now we have to do some more stuff here.
I'll probably cool down in a bit. I was just out in the backyard trimming some trees.
Uh-oh.
That would do it.
Yeah, I'm getting into summer routine, so I do my exercise in the morning. So yeah. Playing in fantasy grounds a bit today too. Len's idea of the settlements on Lendor Isles, the debacle with Laurel Tarma, how it's spelled, where it is, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of a little bit of an interesting conundrum, because Len originally put it on the east coast of Lendor Isle,
Right.
and he always wanted it to be there, but then he seemed to have caved in, because on most of his own maps it's actually where Darlene put it. But he didn't like that, but he seemed to have succumbed to it. And so now I'm in a bind how to spell it, where to put it. Yeah, so it's kind of, we have to discuss that somehow, somewhere. Yeah, I have to ask on Flanders Geographical Society to have a poll or talk about it something, because it's kind of a, yeah, it's a tricky conundrum.
Sound test, can you hear me? And I bet you can't, because I did. You know what? I bet you. I knew I forgot something.
Oh, they can't
They
hear you?
Hear me.
Oh, can they hear us?
Yeah, they can hear you. They can't hear me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Hopefully you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? All right, good.
Okay, good. Yep.
I came on a little early because I got a cool vid to share, but we'll do our normal stuff. So I'm gonna actually run 2 Gamescape 3D vids today. So good, because at first you couldn't, because I messed it up, but now it's unmessed up. Cool.
Whew. Perfect.
Mic
Yep.
check. Mike is here.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, you haven't.
And don't forget about Saturday.
That's true. Yep.
I get to kill everyone. No, I'm kidding. I get to kill mostly everyone.
Be the fastest chance.
What's up, Jason? George, Chemist, Dorgrim, Gary. Just starting to get cranked up here.
Yep. George and everybody.
I got a new vid I'm going to show shortly. It's only 7:45. I don't know how long Blue Box is going tonight, so I just, figured I'd pop on and actually got a how-to vid for Gamescape 3D, so I just got it. So yeah, we're early just because I want to run that extra vid, and that plus John varies from finishing between 7:40 and 8 o'clock our time, so it's no big deal.
Gary's getting started without us.
Yep.
What's that? Yes, thanks.
I said Gary's getting started without us.
You're early,
Oh, yeah.
Matt. That's good. Don't you have a game tonight, Matt? Or is that why you're early? What time? Or do you not have a game tonight? And sounds good all around. Oh, well, that loss is our gain, right? So there you go. Plus, you'll be around for the giveaway. I hope I answered that question for you on the Discord. I see initiative as something that gets in the way of fast gameplay. So, we all want fast gameplay. So this is out now. We have it. We haven't started printing it yet, but we have that bridge. We have the STLs for it. So we're now, the only one thing we don't have is we don't have the fighting pitch yet.
Sounds like an interesting alternative to jousting. Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm going to do some Greyhawk City adventuring once I get this and we get it all printed up. I got some ideas. Yeah. And there's Mike. Mike is Retro Gamer is printing out the massive ruins of a keep castle from Gamescape, and I got a massive idea I'm going to use that for. So, yep.
Can I use it to stand in for Doom Grinder?
No, I have it. I have a Doom Grinder. I have that windmill Doom Grinder. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot.
I was searching through some books I needed tonight, and particularly the 2.5 Roger Moore book, just in case I need it. The Adventure Begins, and my hand touched the Doom Grinder, and there was blood everywhere afterwards. I don't know how that happened. So, all right, here comes a new vid. See, I'm not old tricks here. Here we go. Ready? Enjoy. You get to see what Jeremy looks like too from Gamescape.
Those look like Hepmona Land huts or something. Yeah.
Jeremy's not a great painter, but he pushed this stuff out. I mean, the designs are pretty cool.
They look awesome. Yeah.
It's a Patreon. It's $3.50. You can have all that on STL. That's how much his Patreon is each month. Just $3.50.
Hello, welcome to Gamescape 3D. Tonight we're just going to take a couple of minutes, go over a couple of things on this round palisade, these Celtic roundhouses, and the halfling house we're putting out this month. All right, let's get to it. This is the first time I'm using open locks again in about 6 months, so I just want to go over those real quickly. We'll pull apart a piece here. I have 2 open lock inserts on each side. You really only need to put 1 open lock in there. If you haven't used open locks before, they're pretty stiff the first time you put them in. You'll probably want to use a pair of pliers and just kind of shove it in there to sort of prime the slot for the first time. After you put an open lock in the first time, it's usually a lot easier after that. You'll notice that I've included 2 different types of open lock clips. The only difference between them is that one of the clips I have made actually thinner, so it's not so rigid. The open lock clips just really lock everything together, and I prefer things loose, so I put that in there if you have the same sort of sentiments. When you're printing these fence pieces, they should fit any way you want. On these 8x8 inch bed plates, the gate piece is a little bit longer, so I would advise going ahead and positioning these things so you're going corner to corner. It'll give you a little more space on those. You'll see this top layer here, there's a bit of an overhang. When you print this out, there'll be supports built right in there. And they should rip out real easy when you're done printing, okay? And that's the only thing I wanted to mention on this house. When you print out the little pegs for the halfling house, I do advise that you go ahead and just throw down, a little strip of blue tape, print about 12 to 15 of these things at a time, and that's about the most painless way to proceed with those. Just tap them into place gently. Remember, if you go too far, the peg holes go all the way through. You can tap them back out if you go too deep. Okay, that's a wrap for tonight. Like I said, I just had a couple of things. One note on the standing stones, most of those are probably much larger than you want them to be. So in most cases, you're probably going to want to reduce those. Size changes shouldn't have any effect on those. And that's it. Okay, so thanks for your support, and we will see you next month.
Awesome. So there you go. Hey, Arvados, what's up? I'm hoping to get them each month from them. For that, that Patreon, all you saw that in STL, that's $3.50 to get all those STLs. So, oh yeah, Mike, he's really cranking some good stuff out. I mean, look at the jousting tilt wall and all that he did for us custom. And he put that in the Patreon too. So yeah, you're 100% right. Oh, it is. It's great. I mean, it's great. So we have two great 3D print sponsors. We have Gamescape 3D and Infinite Dimensions. So they're both fantastic. Here, I'll hit this up again. Hit the shout-outs up for both of them. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Alright, so tonight. What are we doing tonight? It's like it has to come to me. Has to come to me. I know we're a little early, but what's I'm sure. Mountains in the Highlands, Greyhawk. I got a little bit of a different setup tonight on the front page, you'll see, so I can maneuver along, theoretically. Hey, here comes Blue Box. What's up, John?
Hey.
So theoretically, I can maneuver around the map a lot easier, and I said that theoretically, so, because who knows what'll happen. Welcome! Welcome, welcome. John, if that stream is up tonight that you were talking about, I'll raid into them. All right, we'll change it up. I'll raid into them tonight, so because I don't see them on yet. So I just brain fried. I'm like, what am I hitting next? I'll hit you a couple times there. We're really early, but we got a whole raid in, so let's get the show on the road here. We can talk about it. Of course, we can talk about anywhere. Whoops. It would help if I hit the right button. There you go. Jay hit a wrong button. Imagine that I hit a wrong button. Look, see, my mug gets covered up tonight. How's that? So there you go. I made it set this way. So thank you all so very much for coming on tonight. Thank you for the raid, and thank you. Yes, wrong button early and often there, Jason. What's up, DM? What's up, everyone? Thank you very much for the sub. I really appreciate it. And so we're like back to like normalcy here, right?
Yeah.
It's like deep breath. Gary Con's over. But I'm glad you guys raided. And I'm gonna wait 2 minutes here. I'm gonna babble for about 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna read something to everyone. I think I shared it with a couple of you. But I got a message from Luke Gygax.
Oh.
So I'm gonna share that.
That.
I'm gonna read that with a little surprise. So I'll do that right at the top of the hour. Okay. So sit tight, and I want to share the message that Luke Gygax sent to me.
Yeah.
All right, but
High road.
mountains and highlands. So we've done like swamps, we've done forests.
Forests. Yeah.
Yeah, but we haven't really hit the mountains and highlands. So I have the entire map here and watch. So hopefully I can do my flyby
Oh, that's good.
and
That's
the
perfect.
entire
Yep.
map.
Mhm.
Hopefully, and then I got
That's good,
I
yeah.
got a back screen here because I want to share some of this beyond
Yeah.
that. So let's see if this works tonight.
Yeah.
So
And realize that since we do all the different types of geographical features, we need to do the most boring ones plains eventually, so to speak. So
Woo!
yes,
yeah.
hopefully
Yeah.
exactly. So
I just,
hopefully
just
we'll
have
do
to
it.
warn everybody that now we've done all the kind of imposing, kind of impressive ones. We need to do the most boring ones to plains that get overlooked. So we have to have that for the future shows. So yeah.
Yeah. So 33 months. That's awesome. So yeah, and this is all awesome Anna Meyer maps here.
Oh, thank
So
you, Strike
yeah,
Again.
we got a
Yeah.
lot
It's
of
like
so
A tiny bit of it too.
yeah.
Oh
it's
yeah,
only a
exactly.
small
That's just a tiny,
smidgen
tiny,
of
tiny
it.
bit. Yep.
Oh, look at that. We already got a hype train too.
Amen.
Wow.
Yay,
Hey!
wow, we haven't even
Thank
started
you.
yet.
Clever. Do you prefer clever or clover or both? I CL3 clever. I think it is. Thank you so very much for that. Really appreciate it. And it's starting to crank up here. All right. So
It started raining.
Hi, Carlos.
There-
Yep.
there are some
Carlos.
wonderful. Hey, what's up, Carlos? There's some
Okay.
wonderful areas that we are going to discuss tonight. We'll take our time. If we miss some, we miss some, but we're going to try and get to most of them because there's some major mountain ranges, and there's some major places that on this map that we really want to discuss, and some that I really want to discuss. So here's a funny question. I'm not busting Gary. So I said to Gary, Gary, who would you recommend me to bring on to the show as like an expert for this topic? And he goes, I can't think of anyone. So I'm like, well, thanks.
Well,
What-
it's geography, so you have me on. I'm kind of, I know
Exactly,
what to do about the
exactly.
different.
Wouldn't it have to be Dennis?
Dennis
Okay.
Tetro?
Yeah, I was just going to say. So Dennis and me could slug it out over tectonics and.
Yeah.
And I don't want.
and
Oh my
geology
gosh,
and stuff.
Canadian. Thanks, man. Thank you, Patrick.
Wow.
Big
Damn.
announcement for Patrick too. I don't want to know if I want to ruin it for
Hey.
Tim, but a huge announcement for. You did? You replied there, sure. I saw the list you gave us. I saw that, and that was really cool, and I really appreciated that.
33 months.
So let's get through all the hypes here and stuff, and then we will. Well,
It's not even on the hour yet. So,
it's not
yeah.
even on the hour yet. So,
Yeah.
but all right. So everyone knows. Let me go back and say this. Everyone knows I was a little perturbed about the Facebook message, right? I was a little perturbed.
Oh,
for
you
the
mean
Facebook
Luke's
message.
after
Yes.
Gary?
Yes,
Con.
I was a little bit, just a wee
Oh yeah,
bit,
you complained a little bit.
just a little bit. So, we got and I was talking to everyone, and out of the blue yesterday, I got a Facebook Messenger message. Okay, so I'm going to read this, and this is a good time because you don't need to see my face to hear this, right? All right, so I'm going to read the whole thing. Okay. All right, here we go. This is from Luke. Luke sent this to me yesterday. Okay. All right. So, if hopefully I'll speak up as loud as I can so that all the generosity of oh my gosh, you guys are killing it. Here we go. Hello, Jay. The smoke is clearing from another GaryCon, and I wanted to send you and the Greyhawk gang a heartfelt thank you. The channel had excellent content and great viewership. You really coordinated a fantastic feat, and the entire group deserves to be proud of the accomplishment. I wasn't sure that it would all come together and work so well, but it did, with a big exclamation point. Sure, we had some bumps along the way, but at the end of the day, it was immaculate. Please pass on my deep appreciation of the passion and hard work invested to all that pitched in. I hope that we will see many returns to the Flannis at future Gary Cons. Soon we will be in Lake Geneva again and can raise a toast to my dad and the wonderful game and vibrant world he created. Now I won't share the back and forth after that between he and I, but that was
That
thought-
is wonderful,
Okay.
fantastic.
so. So Gary, that was from Luke because Josh doesn't have. Josh was not even aware that Luke did it. So yeah, all right. So that went to the entire community there. Just wanted to say, I'd share it with everyone. So there you go. Sounds like we have an open invitation to return. And of course, we want to do things differently a little bit. But that's 11 months, 11 and a half months
Exactly.
away.
We have to look into next year when there is a real Gary Con to
Right.
go to, and how that will,
We got other things to worry about before that,
Oh yeah.
So
But it's wonderful to look forward to.
Yeah,
This makes me look forward to it even more.
absolutely, we have other wonderful things to look forward to. In particular, Annika. In particular,
No, Anacon, please.
in particular, this Virtual Greyhawk Con 2.
Sure.
Okay,
Yep.
the dates are set. The tabletop events is up. Okay, it's already there. Can't do anything there, but you can at least take a look and see what is going on. It's that first weekend in October. I've already had people contact me wanting to participate, so we are golden. All right. So
Yeah, they're already taunting me about
Yes.
that at Anacon. All the players have to play 0-level characters.
yeah, yes, and you have to play
Lord.
level 0 characters forever.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's like
the whole con.
Yeah, that would be like so. If like some of my guys went down below after they passing, I think that would be the torture that some of them
Oh
would
yeah,
have.
you said
Oh
that to
my
me, and I
gosh.
tortured them.
Oh my god. You want to talk about torture for some of them, actually, But so there you go. I wanted to share
Yeah.
that before we got started here
Wonderful
tonight.
news. What a wonderful start of the show. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, John, thank you so very much for the raid. Thank you all, everyone who participated in cheers and shout outs and gift subs already to get us started on this week. This is a big week. 4 streams this week. So we got 4. This starts a 4 streams and 5 nights deal. Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. We got a ton of content coming up this week, along with a massive All-Star game Saturday, which I'll discuss at the end there. So look at that. Thanks for the level 4 hype train, everyone. So Mountains and Highlands, Mike, let's just do general, and then we're going to start boom, hitting some off of ours, some of yours. I'll move the map, hopefully, without crashing things. What comes to mind when you think of
Mountains,
Yep. Choo-choo!
Highlands. Well, let's Howling Hills. That's
Well, I'll give you. I'm showing one. I'm showing Highlands right here. I am the Cairn Hills.
Okay, so you already have the Cairn Hills up.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
just did that because that's iconic. Greyhawk City's there,
Right.
and you don't think of mountains when you think of Cairn Hills, but my gosh, Highlands, and there's so much going on here, So
A lot.
yeah,
No, I wasn't even really thinking hills. That's the weird part. I was thinking the Aberalls are mountains that are like, if you look at the Darlene man, it's like, what, 2 hexes worth of mountains?
Mhm.
Oh, by the
And
way,
then just hills in all directions.
because of that massive hype train, we're doing 2 giveaways tonight. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, we'll do two $25 gift certificates. One to Reaper and one to Carlos at CSO Entertainment. Let me set that up. First winner, you get it your choice of between the two. Okay, sound good? Let me set this up here. Dun, 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 dun. Now watch, this is going to crash the stream. Dun, 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 dun. It's going to say special sponsor. It should say that. I may have forgotten to change the special instructions. All right, there we go. So that worked. All right, yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. So there's a lot of places that you can go to in this, right, Anna? I mean, we all have our
Yeah.
favorites when we talk about
Yeah, but
Mountain
there's
Highlands.
an interesting thing when you look at the
There's Casey.
overall geography of the Flannies with mountains, is that you have the primarily winds come from the east. That's according to the glossography and when they discuss weather and stuff. And you have 2 large separators that go north to south, especially in the west where you have the Yahtils and the Crystal Barrier Peaks and the Crystal Mist that forms like an enormous, like it's like the Rockies or the Andes or the Alps. It's one of these kind of, or the Himalayas. It's one of these gigantic, that's tall enough that stops weather and stuff. And then in the east you have up from the Kurils and the Griffs, and then the Rakers, and then it's kind of lower, the flinty hills is not that high, so to speak, and then you have a bit of the Gloriolis, the Hestmark and stuff. So there is a barrier in the east too, even if it's not as significant, profound. But the interesting thing is what happened with the, when you have mountains like that, the weather kind of is forced over, which means that a lot of the moisture and stuff is missed, and the air becomes dry and then falls down again. And that is, so it's interesting that when Gary and the others who participated, and Rob Coons and others in creating the general overall map of the Flanies, it's kind of interesting because they put huge plains in the middle, and it makes sense from a geographical climate perspective that if you have mountain ranges in the east that force the air up the first time, and you get like a wave, and then so you get like a dry area behind it, and then that makes perfect sense that you have Vespi as an almost kind of a temperate rainforest on the eastern slopes of the Klatsbergs, and then down even on the eastern slope of the Barrier Peaks and the Yahtils and the Crystal Mist, there's a lot of forest and stuff. So even from a climatological perspective, the geography of the Flanies actually makes sense. So it's interesting to see that, and also these kind of big barriers also define the Flanies from a cultural perspective. You have the eastern plains, east of it, that's the Great Kingdom and that thing. And then you have the center area between the Rakers and the Yahtils is where you have the center of the setting. And then you have the western part, west of the big mountains, is the Baklunish. So both from a geography, climate perspective, and from a kind of cultural part, the mountains are the dividers of the setting into its big parts, so to speak. Yeah. I just wanted to kind of start out the discussion by framing it. And then you have the Sulhout, that is that the Sea of Dust is behind that barrier, far off into the distance because of the hell furnaces and the Sulhouts. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that brings up a question about the Sea of Dust. But, maybe we can come back to that.
Well, do you want me to run that way first? I mean,
no. I just wanted to kind of have a little bit of an overview before we dig into the details, so to speak. So
very cool. I just started.
So
go ahead, Mike. Go for it.
No, I was going to say I want to know about the Aberrals. So Aberrals is that just the mountain part that's technically mountain?
Look at that! Wow.
You see, is the Cairn Hills Aberrals like all? It
technically is all connected. You look up here. Look, it says Cairn Hills right here. Look at it. Look at how south that is. Cairn Hills.
Cairn Hills is probably it's named that because of literally the cairns that are in it.
Yeah, but the star cairns aren't in the Cairn Hills.
No, that's true. So it's all the Cairn Hills.
But it's like mountain ranges in the real world and highlands and stuff. It's really hard to tell where one starts and the other one ends. Sometimes it's kind of obvious, but sometimes it's one just flows into the other ones. It's like the Alps and the Dolomites and Anna
would have to know this, if anyone.
Yeah.
How high does a hill have to be before it's a mountain?
That is the interesting thing, and that was one of the things I thought about and read about it depends. Usually the highest peak in a region is considered a mountain, and the ones that don't reach that level are considered hills. So if you're in Denmark, a mountain is 1,000 feet high, or something like that. But if you're here in California, a mountain needs to be 6,000 or 8,000 feet tall. Otherwise, it's a hill.
So it varies.
It varies depending on the highest thing that is in one area tends to be labeled a mountain, and the smaller ones that don't reach up to that level tends to be hills. And so it's more like what perspective you have and it can be due to language and culture and geography that kind of tells it. But I'm sure that is a sort of definition in geography terms.
There's got to be a geology distance. Is it 5,000 feet?
I wouldn't be surprised somewhere around that, at least 3,000 feet. That's my general rule. That if it's below 3,000 feet, then it's
the
definitely
Appalachians near where I live in the Poconos are not that high.
Exactly. They're
I don't know how high
old
they are, but
remnants.
they're mountains,
Exactly.
right?
They're probably 3,000-4,000 feet, 5,000, maybe somewhere along those lines. But it also depends on where a mountain is. If mountains are more kind of further south and stuff, it doesn't matter if they're that high. But once you get up into the colder regions, and in certain areas, you get like a different climate zone. Just you come up a few thousand feet, and all of a sudden,
3,000. There you go, Amy.
Yeah, it looks very different, and there are different animals, different plants, and it's a totally different environment. And that happens when you close to, if you go from temperate to Arctic and stuff. So okay, yeah. So
we got a great question. I want to tackle this first from Mattias. And that is about the Jotun's Good Hills and Yachtels and a few others have rivers. How do we handle waterfalls without topography? That is a great point. So let me see if I can do this without. I should be here, right? I'm close.
Yeah, there you up the Yachtels. Yeah.
I vaguely recall something about
There's
that.
the Klatspears and the Yachtels. We're going to stay right here. So, yeah, look at this river running right through here. I mean, look at that, Verbeek Hill and stuff. So, good question.
Yeah. Waterfalls is an interesting. I spent like 2 months last year doing, or 2 or 3 months doing when I looked over the flood and the drainage of the whole Flanaess, and the waterfalls was a big thing because that was part of my kind of starting to think about the actual 3D layout of the landscape when I move into doing actual topological maps that are fully 3D. So I had to think about it. But we have a good source for the major rivers in the glossography and the setting book, because the rivers are actually described then from the ashes and then later in the living Greyhawk acid here. The major rivers and some of the minor ones, you actually listed how far you can travel up with big ships and boats and stuff. So that's why I'm pretty sure that the Velverdiva doesn't have any major falls. It's kind of a gradual slope all the way up from Lake Quag all the way down to the Nerdiv and then through the Nesser. It's a gentle slope, so to speak. But there are some rivers that I suspect have very big falls. Like there is a Falls of Mists that is in the Falls River that flows from the Yachtels. That probably
all right, so
big ones.
Am I close to it?
Yep, just south a little bit. Just go south a little bit. Yeah, a little bit longer. There you go. Now it popped in.
Oh, there it is. Falls of Mist. Look at that.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, and you have the Yachtels are draining into that one. That is probably, especially in the spring, that's probably one of the biggest falls in the Flanaess, because you have like the center part of the Yachthill drains into that basin and forms the false river, so to speak. So it's like a huge river, probably very seasonal, meaning in spring and early summer it's probably enormous, and then in fall and winter it's probably not that big to speak of, so to speak.
Interesting. Do you know of any? Do you know of any other that are posted up?
Let's see
just
here.
Out of the blue.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we have Ket probably has a bunch of them near Molvar. There is the river the rivers that form the.
I'm not far from Ket.
Yeah, they form the.
Whoops.
Hang on a second. The Tuflik River is formed.
Should be
in
right here,
Ket.
right? Here it
yeah,
is.
in Ket. In Ket. So all these rivers that form into the Tuflik probably have lots of falls in them, because they're coming from way up in the Yachtils. That is like.
All right, so
10,000 feet or 20,000 feet, maybe.
Up in this area.
Yeah, probably over 20,000 feet up. And then so near Molvar and stuff, there's probably huge big waterfalls too, because these valleys, it drains from the Yachtils down that way. But then we have an area that should have, now we're talking about waterfalls coming from the mountains, an area that should have waterfalls that doesn't have it. And that's one of the trick. And now we have to lean on Mike's expertise, because I'm talking about all.
Oh.
Because, yeah, if you go down to all.
Or right here.
meaning all you have east of all, you have the barrier peaks.
Right.
And the barrier peaks is a huge mountain range, equivalent of the Alps or the Rockies. So there should be some major drainage going west, but there are
Oh,
none.
really?
I don't see much.
Except there are none. I've actually
There's one right
added
here.
a
Here's
couple.
one right here.
Yeah, I've
Right there.
added them last year
Oh.
when I
Yeah,
realized
yeah,
that there
yeah.
are
Oh.
no rivers there. Then it
Okay.
needs to, so I added a few, and we should probably add a few more in there just for it to make sense, so to speak. But those rivers can be very seasonal, meaning they can be huge in spring and early summer, and then almost fade away in fall and winter. But because all is dry at the low altitudes, and then snowfall is accumulating in winter, and then when spring hits, then it starts melting up at high
So-
levels, so to speak.
Phantom Rob asks, "What's the climate
Yeah.
like in all? All's like the Mongols, right?
Yeah,
it's like Mongolia.
all probably has an equivalent to, like Afghanistan or,
Okay,
or
yeah.
the interior of Kazakhstan or like something like that, like inner Asia climate. So hot, dry summers and then bitterly cold for a few months in winter, but primarily dry all year, but very different temperatures. So it's like a desert, a hot desert in the summer and a cold desert in the winter.
They call the barrier peaks because it's a barrier between the two lands, right?
Yeah.
But is the barrier peaks like snow caps like the Sierra Nevadas?
Oh yeah, it's probably higher. I envision it really high. It's like the
Higher
Alps,
than
the
that.
Andes.
So
Andes
it's
or
like
the
Andes
Rockies.
high. Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's
Okay.
probably in the 20,000 feet something.
Wow.
So
Okay.
because otherwise it would not really be a barrier either to travel or weather or any of it. So
Well, when I
so
was flipping through the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer earlier,
Yeah.
it said that the crystal mists were the tallest.
yes, yeah. I see the crystal mist and the
So
yacht
that would
hills as the
imply
tallest.
that then the barriers come down from that. So
Yeah,
they're-
so the barriers are, let's say the crystals mist are
furnaces.
close to 30,000. They're like the
Yeah.
Himalayas. And then the barrier peaks are like the Andes or the Alps or the
Yeah.
Rockies, like the 20,000 something feet. So like 10,000 taller, less than the crystal mist and the yacht hills that are spiking towards 30,000 or even more here and there. It's a fantasy world after all, so we can have mountains that are even taller than the ones on Earth.
I hate to do this. Two things.
Yeah.
We got a good question. Death McKim says, "How do you determine where drainage should happen?" But my second question is this:
Yeah.
I don't recall all this crap being in here in Vale of the Mage. Who put all this in here?
It's in the adventure.
All this is in the
Yes,
adventure?
all
Oh my
that is
gosh!
in the
I don't
adventure.
remember
Yes.
it that much.
Yep.
Oh
all
my
of it
gosh.
is in the adventure. Yep. I don't think there are any other sources. I think there might be a couple of settlements that are details that
I
are from
don't
the Gorda
remember
books.
all that.
Yeah, there might be a couple
my
of them that are
gosh.
from the Gorda books as well, because
Okay.
the cat lord hung out there in the Gorda books,
Oh
and
my
there were
gosh.
maybe a place name or two that was mentioned, so I added them too.
It looks like
but I'm not gonna-
Verbabach, the Verbabach area from Living
Oh
Greyhawk.
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Oh,
But
man.
but the thing is that it was one of the few modules that published modules that actually have a detailed overland map. So they added like 25, 30 of them in there, and so yep. So it's all from the module. Yep.
Yeah,
Vale of the Mage.
I think it's overdone too much. I like the openness. I mean, take out half of them and maybe it's okay.
No, but you have to realize how large area it is.
It is a
Meaning
large
we
area,
talk
but still.
several hundred miles. Meaning,
Yeah, I know, but-
imagine you have the area from Boston to Washington D.C.
Yeah, in length, not in width.
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
in length,
It's
and-
like
and
Long
then-
Island length. I mean, or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
But imagine you
Yeah.
only have 20 place names in Long Island, and then there is room for more stuff, especially if you have to travel on foot or
There's room for
horseback.
more stuff everywhere. But,
Yeah.
but the Vale of the Mage should be mysterious. I'm sorry to get off on a tangent.
Oh yeah, but I agree. I also want to do something different in my campaign, so I don't
Yeah.
like that either so much.
Drainage, how do you determine it?
Well, yeah, what I did was that I took the mountain chains, and then I took the big rivers, all the main rivers that are already published and in sources, and drew them in. And then I started filling in the gaps to those rivers, and then I added a few extra that was needed, and there's still a few more to be needed, like in all, we need to add a few more here and there.
All right, so you're saying
that,
you
yeah.
probably need some more in this and all off
There
the
should
barrier
be in
peaks.
southern all. There should be a
Like
couple
in
of
this
more
area
rivers.
where the
Southern-
Yeah, exactly there.
hills
Yeah,
are.
and
There are
then we have to
none.
figure out if because we have an escarpment down there that is an interesting
Yeah.
feature.
Whoops!
That
I knew that
means
was
that
going to happen.
Yeah, everything that is north of the escarpment might drain north, and everything south of it will drain south, so to
Right.
speak. So
Okay.
because it's like the northern bit, the old bit is heightened, it's much higher than the southern Paynim bit. So it's like a geographical, like some tectonic thing there or something.
Or it was a magical catastrophe.
Yeah, it will probably something that the invoked devastation cost or something like that, cost that change. But there should be seasonal rivers through all that. Every spring there should come more of them because the snow melt from the barriers, and probably a little bit from the old Spru Mountains too, a little bit, because most mountains tend to accumulate water and snow over winter. Even in the driest of deserts, there's a little bit of snowfall and frost and stuff up high.
So while we're here, Mike, anything to say about the Old Spru?
Let's see, Old Spru. Part of the barrier peaks.
Right
I
here.
guess.
West of all. Right?
Yeah.
Don't you have the altar out there at Dewar?
That's one of my first mysterious locations. There's a lot.
Yeah, right there, Altar of Dewar. See, I can use my pointer here now that I'm on that, so it works. Altar of Dewar is right
There's
here.
a couple monasteries up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple monasteries up in the north. There's Bronzewood in the Old Spruce. A lot. There's a lot of ogres.
Fala Nil Monastery.
Yep. If you look at the box set, this is something I just found out today going through the books. It kind of blew my mind. All right. In the guide, how it has that map of resources?
Yes.
And then for each entry, it tells resources as well.
Right.
Well, Ul's doesn't match.
Obsidian.
In the book, in one entry, it says Ul has silver and gems. Then on the map, it says Ul has copper and gems, or vice versa. So
copper makes sense.
Yeah,
copper makes sense over silver.
I know in my own writings, maybe I saw both entries and conflated them, and I have copper and silver mines, but I think my silver mines are on the barrier peak side.
Okay, because copper comes from clay mostly, right? Deposits. Am I wrong there? Or is that aluminum?
I'm not so sure. We have to ask.
Is that aluminum or is that copper that comes from clay? One of them comes from clay.
Yeah.
Does anyone know?
Yeah,
maybe it's aluminum.
Yeah, most of these kind of heavier metal comes from deep down. So you need material to come down from deep earth and be lifted up by volcanism or tectonic or something, and then be deposited. Yeah.
I think
and then you have some of them that comes in sediments and stuff too, like diamonds and stuff. Yeah.
Which mountain ranges have the richest minerals by going by the map and these other entries.
That's kind of it probably depends on what type of, but certain of them.
Well, like gems, Gygax had a system in there: gems 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. So if you look, we need to look at it. But
all is base 2. They're not even the cheapest gems.
Yeah.
The bauxite. Okay.
And it's also and it's also might also be that some mountains are much easier to get them out. So even if there are less of them, there is easier to like sedimentary rock, like sandstone and or what you call limestone and stuff is much easier to mine because you can chop it into. But once you get into granite and mountains like that, even if they have more ore, you need either magic or special monsters, or you need modern explosives in order to get to them, because the rocks are so hard. But in a fantasy world, that's interesting because you can have umber hulks, you can have magic, you can have other cool stuff to get to things that medieval miners in the real world barely could touch. Yeah.
So
But
one.
what? Oh, sorry.
Oh
Go on.
no, no. Go ahead, Anna.
I was going to say one of the interesting things when you look at all and most of the west of the Baclunish West is that they are in the rain shadow of the Crystal Mist
Okay.
and the Barrier Peaks and the Yacht Hills and stuff. So it's much drier and they have desert even if they don't have it. It's the same temperature as it is on in the area in Keoland and the Sheldamar Valley, but it's much drier on that side, and that makes sense. You have the forested eastern side of the hills, and then on the western side, it's much drier. That makes perfect sense from a climatological perspective. And then you have the stuff like the invoked devastation and stuff that probably maybe even changed the geography and screwed it up magically and stuff on top of it.
So the point I was going to make to the audience is all this stuff you see on this map from all is all fandom from Mike.
Yep.
And it made it to the map. So there you go, everyone.
Yeah. It's only 2 locations. It's only Alakand and Crestable, I think, that are not of your. Everything else is your awesome creations. Yeah.
And that's what's
yeah.
Yeah.
What can you say?
Absolutely.
No, there are references of, I think, of old Auridian towns. So I put some ruins in there, and then I thought to myself, surely they didn't destroy all the towns, so I left it. I created a couple villages. Just try to fill in some of the gaps.
Yeah,
but there's more that can be put in there. I'm sure.
The Barrier Peaks has a lot of cool things in it too.
Oh yeah, one of the most hotly contested adventures too.
Yeah, it does. And you know what? I have no idea where it is on this map.
It's go up the northern end. The northern end, you have
north of Vale of the Mage.
Yeah, you have it's Kvalish and Dawin Gloin or whatever it's called.
Gloin.
Yeah, and Kvalish. There is the barrier. That's the Barrier Peaks module.
Kvalish?
Yep.
That was a recent.
Yep.
Oh, because of that remake.
Oh,
yep. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the area of where the ship crashed and all that. So
that's cool.
On the Paizo map, they call it the Unearthly Cave, I think.
No, that's down here. I saw that.
Oh, that's here. Else?
Yeah, look, right here, Unearthly Cave.
I thought that was.
There it is. It's right here, Unearthly Cave. Yep, it's in 2 separate spots.
Okay, then I need to revise that. Yeah, because it's probably I put one on the map 20 years earlier than the other one. So good.
So what they call the crash site Unearthly Cave?
That's what I assume. I could be wrong.
Okay, no, you're probably right. So I need to put a note here, and I need to put a note, and so good. We see every time we look at the map.
The Qualish adventure I thought was separate as well. Wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought Qualish was a separate one, but that's way
when it comes to when it comes to modules, they're very separated. But I got the assumption that they actually depict the same basic content, because Qualish is going back to the area where you have these kind of alien things and robots and all sorts of weird things.
I'm gonna do a Barrier Peaks Isle of Dread mashup.
So Gary, how can you say it sucks when you know now about that artwork from Living Greyhawk Gazetteer that Eric Mona owns with a fighter dummy robot on it, right? Come on, it's awesome, but that's okay. I'm not a fan of it either, but I think it's great that it's something a little different in the lore. All right, so Barrier Peaks has all these castles. I have no idea what they are here, and denizens. I think you can find almost anything in the Barrier Peaks if you go to the encounter tables. Almost any giants, trolls, any kind of boring creatures, Zorns. Who knows? It should all be here. Umberhawks.
Yeah,
all going to be here.
Well,
no sci-fi chocolate and fancy. What could break out up front of the ship?
Here's something interesting. The glossography says that there are cavemen in the Barrier Peaks. Cavemen.
Really? Yeah. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Is that humans that have developed?
It's men, cavemen.
Okay. Yeah.
So what's that backstory?
Yeah.
And that's in the original glossography.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a little problem with cavemen, but to me, it just seems to be humans that haven't developed that much culturally or something.
They're cavemen in Lord of the Rings. The Woses, right? The Woses are cavemen too in Lord of the Rings, I
The
believe.
Woses?
Yeah,
I must have missed them.
Strider allies with them. Yeah, not the ones that are undead, not them. But there's another group that he. Yeah,
Okay.
they're like
Uh-huh.
cavemen. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Right
exactly.
after
Yeah.
cavemen. Right after cavemen on the chart is tribesmen.
Do you need cavemen or like Neanderthals? According to Jason Jacobson.
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Amy. Yep. So they do exist. They do exist in. There's precedent in Middle Earth lore, which a lot of Greyhawk lore is based off of,
Yeah.
and I can
Yeah.
see where there's lesser, not evolved, but lesser technology peoples in there as well. Yeah.
But who are they closely related to? I'm going to say
Oh, don't say Rich isn't on, so he can't defend. Yeah, he can't. Yeah, so they are in Middle Earth role playing. Yeah, so note that. Just note that is.
Mm-hmm.
What is this? Deep Holm. Okay, Clan Deep Holm.
Yep.
We're going to talk about that next week, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Because we argued. Well, we didn't argue. We discussed what we were going to do next week, and I don't have a banner for it because we decided so late. But we're going to do demi-human realms and kingdoms next week. So there you go. Deep Home will. I assume it's Dwarvish. So we'll talk about that next week. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna. That'll be the topic for next week's Legends of the Dwarf. All right, so let's come down here to. There's a lot going on in the Crystal Mist, right?
Yes. Yep. Definitely. But it's the biggest mountain range by surface area and also by elevation, so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and here is if you want to go to Treasures of Greyhawk, there's Sulfaz's lair, which is I think the 18th level adventure in the Treasures of Greyhawk. A real high level one is right here in Mount Sessa. All right, so that is right there in the Crystal Mists. And there's some, there's a lot. What is that? Numtharaz. That's on the border of Melkot, isn't it? Or is that?
Yeah, but
no,
Steric. It's
Steric.
one of these dwarven holds.
It's a dwarven hold too. Okay, it's got a dwarven symbol in it. So cool. Mount Jilbalat.
Yeah, it's from the Sultanate of Ari, that module.
Which module?
Al-Akbar? The Cup and Talisman
of Al-Akbar.
Yeah.
Day of Al-Akbar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so good. Wow. All right, this is Greyhawk placed.
Yeah.
Is it placed by you or placed by someone else who said?
It's placed by me with ideas from others, so it was not my idea to put it there, but I liked the idea, so I kind of massaged it into position there.
All right, so Kaibar is part of Cup and Talisman of Al-Akbar as well?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So
all the locations there are part of that, come from that module. Yeah. And there's plenty of, meaning we have like 500,000 square miles or something to play with, so I thought that was enough room. Yeah. And put it in there, and since it ties into the lore, Beclunish lore, I thought it was kind of appropriate to have it there too.
I'll say absolutely great.
And it's not my idea, but it's my execution. So yeah.
Do you receive a mod on that? Did you receive a mod on that lately, Jay? I'm sorry, Patrick. I don't understand the question. A mod on that lately. You have to. Maybe I'm being thick-headed here, Patrick. What you mean by that? So, all right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Griffin's Reach, Hold of Grugnir.
Yeah. And then we also have. There should also probably be.
Is that G2? Hold of Grugnir.
No. Oh yeah. It's part of the G series.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's down there, but and also there should be, just like in all, there should probably be a seasonal rivers flowing through the dry steps from the Crystal Mist.
Well, there's one right here. Look, but it ends. It really doesn't go that much in there. This one here
but
makes it.
Yeah. So they should flow down there, and then in spring they should probably reach all the way down to Lake Udrukar at Tovar Bargu, so to speak, maybe in spring and early summer, and then dry out the rest of the year. and so there should be kind of dry riverbeds and salt lakes and stuff like that. So when I go over that in detail sometime, hopefully in the future, then I will add in a lot of features like that to make the landscape more believable, because those mountains there should be a lot of water coming down in spring, and then it should evaporate away. And some of these rivers might never ever reach the ocean. They would just dry out over summer and disappear, and that will be it, so to speak.
Bob,
Which means that the dry steppes and the paynims, they probably have good grazing for a few months in summer, and then it kind of withers away, and it becomes difficult during summer and fall and winter, and then you have great grazing in spring again.
For all you people thinking about running a keep on the borderlands, there it is, Kendall Keep, right there on the border of Crystal Mist.
Yep.
Okay.
That's one of the suggested locations.
One of the suggested locations is right there.
Yeah.
What is
close?
What's that?
I'm getting ahead of you guys. Sorry.
No, go for it. No, go ahead.
Please.
No, I was going to say, is that place close to Slorotten's tunnel?
Yeah,
yes,
it's right there.
The Dark Gate was a town invented in, I think, the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer, or in that time frame, where they actually Dark Gate was an adventuring town that was formed to investigate and look into and adventure into the exit from the Slorotten's tunnel. So it's only a few miles away.
I had a question about that tunnel.
Yeah.
So looking at, and I only reference earlier was the Darlene map, and it's kind of odd. Maybe it's going by the migration map, you know, but it's a very thick part of the Crystal Mist. It's like got to be a couple 100 miles long.
It's about 300 miles long.
It is a whole.
So there are narrower parts in those mountains, is what I'm saying.
It would be much, but on the other hand, it might not be so tempting to go into the hell furnaces, and realize that after at least depending on if you can say that the hell furnaces might have been there before the invoked devastation and already built volcanic, or the hell furnaces might have been a creation by the invoked devastation that actually created them, and then it's not that tempting to go over there. And also, you don't want to go across the Sulhots because there is as much devastation north of them, so you don't have much alternative. So that might actually be a logical way to go, thinking of it that way.
How I hate to keep on going back to
please.
Lord of the Rings, but the Mines of Moria sounds like it's a long passageway, right? But it's dwarven make and stuff. So, and it's through a mountain chain, right? I don't think it's anywhere near as 300 miles long, but it sounds like it's pretty long. Just note that you know, this
and part of it might be natural caves too.
Yeah. Can we attribute this to Len lore, or who?
Slorottin?
Yeah.
It might be. It's part of the early stories, and I don't know if it was Gary who invented it or someone else in the early groups. But as far as I know, it's part of the early. Yeah. Okay. So but I think it's part of the early stories of Greyhawk, as far as I know. Yeah.
I think okay. Now I got it, Patrick. Now I got it. So
okay.
I was just like, I'll take a look and see if I haven't given that out. I have the original. So Len said no. Okay, that's cool. So sorry. What is the Eye of Jeremy? I know who Jeremy is, but what is the Eye of Jeremy?
Eye of Jeremy. It's some sort of temple, or there's some heretics or some hermits from Jeremy that probably priests that worship volcanoes and other stuff that hangs out there, I think.
I wouldn't find that they'd be in the Crystal Mist. I thought they'd be more in the hell furnaces, but they're in the Crystal Mist.
Yeah, but they were, according to, you have to realize when you take me on the spot like this, it's like 15 years or 10 years ago since I read it. But I think that the reason I placed it there is because it's mentioned in according with geometry, and it might be the geometry Living Greyhawk people that invented the place.
It does, sir. I would think there had to be an active volcano for that.
But I put in a volcano there.
Oh,
next
okay.
to it. Yeah.
Oh, is that
just
that little
because-
red next to it? I see it.
Oh yeah.
All right, if we
They-
blow
they
this up,
are
see the
on
red?
precipice.
Right where my,
Yep,
my
exactly.
Yeah.
There's a volcano. I put it in
Oh,
there just
so-
to make
I
it like the
see.
logical
Very
place
cool.
for yeah. So I try to think things through when I do the map.
Awesome.
Yeah, as much as possible. And you see the whole area is full of soot and stuff on the snow too. So it's kind of darkened from soot and
Whoops.
stuff. So yeah.
Wah, wah,
So people don't
wah.
realize it, but I try to think things through when it comes to geography and stuff. A bit like adventure designers have to have the adventure needs to make sense and work when it comes to rules and stuff like that. So I try to do the same thing with the maps.
So the hell furnaces really go south.
Oh
Very
yeah, and
south.
it's yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Large
and
range.
it's huge. Exactly, it's a huge range. So it's and in a lot of adventuring terms, I think it's the coolest, most interesting mountain ranges on the planet in the Flan East because they're full of volcanoes. They're awesome fun to go and adventure in. So yeah.
Very, very cool. And then you have
I love
Sasserine.
I love the encounter charts on hell furnaces here.
Yeah.
Give us some,
Photography.
Mike.
Yeah.
Fire Drake, Fire Newt, Fire Toad, Fire Giant, Hellhounds,
Mm-hmm. I bet you get.
Cavemen.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't know, Gygax just love cavemen. I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So just from this map, Mac, I think you can just see, look, these are all volcanoes. I mean, they're big too, right? Those are volcanic peaks, all the ones with the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he asked the real string of volcanoes or any strings of volcanoes in Greyhawk. I think right here is where you see them, right in this spot. This is all active volcanoes. It looks like.
Oh yeah, I've tried to paint in, and there's a lot of smoke coming from lots of them and stuff like that too. So
Yeah.
so I tried to.
Gary,
I had sorry, go ahead.
oh, I didn't mean to cut you off either.
No, please.
I'm going to comment on Gary saying it's going to change the topic.
Okay, so I'm just
Go
going to
for
say
it.
that I tried to I had a blast for like a couple of months when I did hell furnaces. That was some of the most fun to do because you can go out on go crazy in a cartography sense, so to speak. So yeah, please go ahead.
So Gary says he doesn't think the hell furnaces started to erupt until Renick Colonial's fire. And I'm wondering, I'm inclined to agree with that because if
Me too.
if it was active during the Sewell Empire,
Be
wouldn't
a lot
that have
dead.
affected their culture?
That's what I think too. So I see
Yeah.
it as that they kind of erupted and that was part of the mayhem, so to speak. So yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Now, I promised something I would do for my part of this, and that was I'm going to interject some magic items from
Oh, please.
Greyhawk
Yep.
Adventures that are specific to locations.
Mhm.
So if we
Yep.
go here and we go cloak. All right, here we are. Cloak of the Hell Furnaces. Created by a wizard who sought treasure in the volcanic mountains, this magical red garment provides protection against many of the volcanic dangers and gives protection against similar dangers from other sources. It's plus
What is
2,
that one?
yeah. So it's a +3 against inhaled poison, +2 bonus all saving throws against magical fire or fiery dragon breath, and reduces damage by 1 point die each. Pretty cool item, specific.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's why I love this book so much.
Yeah.
Is because of specific items that you find in here, and there you go. There's one, the Cloak of the Hell Furnaces.
Yeah.
I don't think there was. Wait a minute. I may have missed a crystal. I missed one, but keep. I'll flip it back
I was
here.
going to, yeah, I want to add, Mike, you said Gary's, the encounter table for hell furnaces. I think you need to add red dragons to it. If there's one place that red dragons should live, it's in the hell furnaces. I can
Yeah.
see that there must be a breeding ground for younger ones or something like that can kind of thrive there. It's
Yeah.
because it's away from, there are not that many pesky adventurers that kill soft dragons, and they seem to have a lot of good habitat for red dragons. But on the other hand, maybe not that much treasure. It's not that many rich. But you have Sasserine should have a kind of an invasion occasionally, so might be tough. But they have a red dragon close by too. So yeah.
So is this a plate tectonic, 2 plates crashing area all up and down the barrier peaks, crystal mists, and hell furnaces? I'm not necessarily sure about that.
Well, in the real world,
There would be.
volcanoes come from several things. They can be like a hot spot, like under the Canary Islands or Hawaii.
Right.
That's one of them, or they can be two plates that are moving apart, like in Iceland, or it might be two plates grinding against each other, like you have in the around Washington State and
Himalayas are
Oregon, and
definitely.
down in the Andes and stuff where you have volcanoes there. So there are and so there are many volcanoes for different kinds, so to speak. So and we have to ask Dennis Tetro Meldin, that is a geology expert, what his idea of what type of volcanoes. But I can see it as with some fantasy geology. I can see it like a leftover from the invoked devastation that caused it. And I have a like for fantasy geology, meaning you have the elements and it works a little bit different. I want to see Earth as a fantastic planet, not a strictly Earth-like equivalent, so to speak. I want some
while we're
fantasy
talking
built
about
into it.
volcanoes,
Yeah.
I want to like jump back to the middle of the map real fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have
And
another famous volcano.
No, there's White Plume Mountain,
Mm-hmm.
right in the middle of nowhere. And
Yep.
then we also have active volcano in the Pomars, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they're sort of in
Active
line,
volcano
right?
in the Pomarsh? What do you mean,
Yep.
Mount
Well,
Solite?
there
Whatever.
was.
Oh yeah, but it's
Yeah.
at least active in geologically recent time, so to speak.
Okay.
Meaning
Yeah.
it's probably within thousands of years or
So-
something. So
Even though there's a huge distance between these two things, they're in line, right? So are
yeah,
they
and you
related?
have the Rift Canyon, you have near Div, you have. I see it as there is some geography feature that either the Flanies is going apart at the middle, or it's grinding that way, or it's simply still and being eroded away.
True.
So yeah, so there is definitely I see that the White Plume Mountain and the Rift Canyon and near Div and also the Cairn Hills and all that, meaning there is a geology going on somehow in that region in the middle of it.
Yeah,
So,
the Eastern Orc's trying to tear away from the rest of that huge ass
Yeah,
continent. It
you
wants to
can-
get away.
exactly.
Yeah.
You can tell that eventually it might be ripped apart. I can
Oh,
see
yeah.
that the near Div might actually open up, and I can see that the area around the Nat Marsh and the Nessa River might be country that is falling down, so to speak, or subsiding, and eventually near Div might be a big bay in the future, and
Ooh,
yeah, so you can have interesting stuff like that
I can
happening.
do my
So-
flood map 2.0.
yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of interesting things you can work on if you start wanting to. What would the Flanies look like in 1,000,000 years or 10 million years and stuff
There
like
won't
that?
be any
There-
magic because it goes away in 900 something. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay,
Um,
that's true. Pluffett Smedger already said that. So yeah, that's we have But geology hopefully goes on. So yeah.
One
Okay,
other-
that was a tangent. So yeah, but
It's okay.
interesting
One
one.
other item, red armor to hell furnaces. And look, it says here, it was cut
Ooh.
from the back plates of an adult red dragon.
Oh,
So there you go,
good,
right in the
good,
hell
good.
furnaces.
Yep. Oh, awesome.
Many warriors from the yeomanry died in the battle to kill the creature, and the best dwarven armors were hired to rework the plates. It's a +4 suit of plate mail. Save versus fire, attacks for half or 0 damage. Wow.
Mhm.
So there you go. So
Cool.
Yep.
Yep. Awesome.
and
That's the
another-
kind of armor that can get you hunted down by dragons.
Yes.
And Storm Power has another
Wow.
one that I forgot. The Caldera volcanoes, like you have in Yellowstone and stuff.
Where's that?
Oh,
The Caldera volcano, that these kind of huge hot
Oh, yeah.
spots that kind of
Underground.
builds up over a long
This is
time,
like-
meaning hundreds of thousands of years, and then erupt in an enormous eruption. Not like ongoing things like on Iceland or something like that, like in Hawaii, but more these kind of very intermittent. There's like in India, there's up in Russia, there is on the Yellowstone and a few others that sits vacant for hundreds of thousands, millions of years, and then go kabloom in like enormous eruptions. So that's another type of volcano. So there are many different types that functions differently. So yeah.
All right. So let's.
any more mountain magic items?
Yeah.
For that area, I haven't seen any.
Okay,
Yeah, but
so
trying to
one
do
of
it,
the-
by the area.
trying to do
Yeah.
it by the area.
Yeah.
Let's flip around here and let's
Yeah.
do. Let's. I know a lot of people want to
And,
hit.
and while you're looking at, yeah, so and then we have the kind of the young mountains that are building, and then you have the mid-aged mountains that are just sitting there, and then you have the old mountains that are kind of eroding and fading away. And when it comes to young mountains, you can say that the hell furnaces are probably the youngest in the Flannies. They're kind of
Okay.
building and forming and raising up through volcanoes and stuff as we speak. And then the oldest ones, I see the Cairn Hills, the Iron Hills, the Hestmark Highlands, and some Flinty Hills and stuff like that are some of the oldest ones that
They've
are,
been
and the
just
Lort Mills are probably also
mined to death.
exactly,
I'm sure.
and some of the oldest ones, so they've been around for a long time. And then you have the middle-aged ones like the Rakers and stuff
Ooh.
like that.
Well, that's where I am
probably-
right now on the map. I'm
Yeah,
in the Flinty
mhm,
Hills
yeah.
and the
The
Rakers
Rakers.
here.
Yeah, so I would classify them as a middle-aged mountain, so to speak. They're not
Yeah.
growing anymore, but they're still big and majestic, but not growing, and that they just started to erode away. And the Flinty Hills we know is volcanic because we know from the Gord books that when Gary wrote about Inspa that is full of, it's a bit like Yellowstone, it's full of hot springs and warm, like hot water coming out of the mountains and stuff like that. So there are some geologic activity in the Flinty Hills. So maybe the Flinty Hills and the Southern Rakers is a caldera volcano waiting to burst someday.
Where is
So
Inspa? I don't see it on the
That's where
map.
we're going,
a bit
Linders.
south, just a bit south from where you are. There you go.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yep. hmm
All right.
And it's a town that is full of inns and spas.
Right.
so
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Literally. in-
Wasn't that
Yeah.
where the one published Living Greyhawk adventure was?
And maybe, but it's
The one that
it's
had
actually
the cover on it. You know, it was a 3.0 that actually got published. Which one I'm talking?
that
Oh,
might
that was
be,
Tristor. That was Friday.
Oh yeah,
Tristor.
Tristor. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's depicted.
My bad.
Gary wrote about it because Gord went there in his adventures to Inspa, and so it's written about it in a chapter.
We'll get there,
set in
Lenger. So I'm
Inspa.
going to work my way all the way up from here up to the northeast where all the barbarians are. We're getting
Yeah.
We're going to move our way
Mhm.
up there. All right. So
Yep.
there's all right, in Spa. Interesting. Yeah, it was Tristor. That was my bad there. All right.
Yep.
So you got the Flinty Hills running here. There's Peculiar
Yep.
Keep, Farlane's Cave, and as you move forward, whose symbol's this right here? The purple and the white.
Oh, that's the Knurl.
That's Knurl. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
hmm
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Knurl and
Ogre
the
Bolt Pass. An
Yep.
Interesting name.
hmm
Very cool. Skookendale. Nice
Yep.
name. In 576, it's not around after the wars. It's North Kingdom or Arity. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
As we continue north. So we go from the
Forest
Flinty
man.
Hills, which is, I'm assuming, mostly dwarf.
I don't think there's that many
No.
dwarfs down there. But
Okay.
no, I
Where?
yeah, it's in the
Where?
Flinty Hills. There might be.
Oh,
No,
it's only
the
Yeah, but
gnomes.
no
Gary
big
says gnomes.
dwarven settlements that I know of, so
Right.
to speak. Maybe some
Right.
gnomes and a little bit. There's some
Okay.
gnomes there, if I
Gnomes.
remember
There you
correctly.
go. It's gnomish.
Yeah, and then there's some
Thank you.
orcs and others up in the from the Bone March that are in the northeastern
They
part
do
of the
have a
Flinty Hills.
humanoid problem.
Yeah. And it's also been fought over between Nyrond and the Great Kingdom or North Province. They fought over it, so it's kind of, and then you had the humanoid incursion from the Bone March. And then if you read the Gord books, that you have the Count Bleamu and Knurl and stuff is involved. So it's been a fairly contested part of the world. so to
What's
speak.
cool is
Rick?
the Blemu Hills and the Blemu Uplands look really old.
Yeah, but that's one of the problems because they are named differently, but I think it's actually the same ones. So we need
Oh.
to, yeah. So what I've done is that in the latest version of the maps, the Blemu Hills are the southern ones that are
Right,
near
right here.
Blemu and
Yeah.
stuff, and the middle ones I've called the Ripper Hills because that's a term that comes from Living Greyhawk. And
Okay.
the upper ones I've called the Tesser Uplands. That's my invention, but just to separate them,
Okay.
so to speak. And it's also the Tesser Uplands. I've enhanced the map because I needed to, because the
Wow.
Tesser Torrent actually starts so
Torrent.
close to the ocean. So I needed some hills between the start of the river. Otherwise, the river would just flow north to the ocean. So I needed to create some highlands there. And that's why I invented the Highlands. And in the beginning, I thought, okay, here we have something said that the Blemu Highlands and the Blemu Hills, and the Blemu Uplands and the Blemu Hills. But I
So
realized the Uplands and Hills are the same thing. They're just different author using the different terms.
Asher says this is full of Earthland necromancers, including the Dreadlord.
Yes. Oh, yeah. The borderlands between the Bone March and the North Province are nasty country. You have Death Kargoth and Death Knights and humanoids and yeah, it's a nasty place. It's been for hundreds of years. And that was the border area where the Great Kingdom fought along its northern frontier, so to speak. So you have
here's all your Highlander defenses that I know Asher really talked about during the Great Kingdom discussion, where a lot of campaigning is going on here, which is really cool.
Yeah, and you have Lord Defar, one of the
all right,
Death
so
Knights,
Gary
Red
says
Lord.
there's none there now, just ruins. We got an argument.
Well, yeah, that depends on what time it is. But
Okay.
your map is based on the 576 map. So
Right.
so if you go to the 598 map, much more of it should be ruined and stuff. So yeah.
All right, so as we move up here, we got the Loft Hills along with
just
the
the
Rakers.
eastern, since you have the
Up to
Calamar
Rotic.
Pass. Yeah. And Spine Castle, one of the cool, interesting places.
Yeah.
It's for Urfland, they're just undead now.
Yes, we're defeated
that's
before.
awesome, Asher. Yeah.
Nice.
That's a great comment. Yeah.
So you
And then we
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say you have some detail coming up here in the Rakers. I'm assuming that in Rotic, I'm assuming Carlos, if you're still on, I'm not sure if your Arcovic's Cove is up here somewhere that you just recently did.
And I must say I'm sorry a bit because the Rakers, I think, are the ugliest mountains on the map.
Why is that?
I don't like them at all. They need to be redone, so to speak. So
Okay.
Yeah, they look awful from an eroded erosion. But I didn't have proper erosion when I did this map. So
Carlos, where?
Yeah.
Give me it near what town? Near what in what hold or area? Just so I'm going to point it out with my pointer, and then just let me know where it is. I'm asking where his new Covic's Cove is located here because it's just out and is it near Devon Meek? Is it near Laakeel? Which is, by the way, so let me
it's
blow
somewhere
up
up
in here.
there. Yep.
All right, so see this area here, Laakeel. This is where the adventure that Josh ran during Greyhawk Con, and that the Leonard group on Virtual Greyhawk Con Discord is working on to get Ravages of the Mind out. That is where it takes place. So, right about where LG plays Devon Meek. Okay. All right, so it's somewhere here where the river is. Well, you know what can happen here, Carlos. In my opinion, you take precedence over LG, so we can move that. There you go. So I just started running a game in Rotic. Started Marmor and heading north. Good, Cyber. That's awesome. I see there's a lot of love for Rotic now going around. All right, so
Rotic is one of these places that seems to have a big fan group because I always get lots of comments about Rotic.
You know why? Because it's out of the way and it's like a bastion where you can have good adventuring and there's badness all around you.
Yeah.
Right?
Wilderness areas are kind of cool from an adventuring perspective. Yeah.
It reminds, gosh, I don't want to I better not. I don't want to go to modern day or a day because I don't want to be accused of anything, but it reminds me of like frontiersmen,
it's
like
Davy
Alaska
Crockett
or
types. Something.
Yeah, Alaska's good. That's it.
It's up there. And
awesome,
it's kind of
Mike.
cool. Yeah, it's like Alaska or Scandinavia or something like that, climate-wise, and you have it. So it's interesting. Yeah.
I
was just
cool.
surprised. It just surprised me that part of Greyhawk had such a fan base, a fan interest compared to a lot of other areas you never get any questions about at all, basically. But Rotic, a lot of comments and ideas and push to map it and stuff. So that's why that one is in after Lendor Isle is in line to be catered to.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
And then you have the next mountain that are one of the coolest names, the Griff Mountains.
Yes,
I love
the
Griff and the Chorus. I love those names are awesome, just like the Yacht Hills and the Crystal Mists. Those are great names. The Rakers is not
Moose
bad
and
either. I
Targets.
like the mountain names and Highland names are some of the best in
I like them.
Yeah,
I like
Greyhawk.
that. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're really
So the
good.
Griffs literally have griffins.
Yeah,
I would hope
exactly.
so.
Yeah, from a fantasy world, I think the Griffs are great. It's short, easy to say, and cool. So yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
incorrect when this is an alternate site for B2?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think so. A lot of people
Okay.
want to have it up in the Griffs. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's what I thought.
But I get the sense that the B2 is not that far off the beaten track. It's not hundreds of miles away from civilization. It's more like tens or so.
Okay.
But that might be me. You know me. I'm certainly not an expert on modules. Both you guys and many others in chat are way more expert when it
Could
comes
be
to
in
modules
Neural.
than me.
Okay. Okay, Gary.
Yeah, that's yeah.
It's mentioned in the original B1 the place in Rakers. Got it.
Okay. Yeah, it's the return to that place. It's in
Kendall.
call it Kendall Keep and have it. Yeah, so it's kind of That's
Yeah,
why I didn't name it Keep of the Borderlands. I just took Kendall Keep and.
So now we're getting up in the area of the Frost Barbarians and the Griffs.
Yeah. I just looked it up. There's a 5% chance of griffins.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not bad. That's 1 in 20.
Yeah.
That's not
And
bad.
there's a 4% chance of Aarakocra.
Oh,
Cool.
So they live up there too. Uh-huh.
I like it.
Right.
Are they
Yeah,
actually so they are canon Greyhawk, so to speak. They are published to be in
they're
Greyhawk or
Fiend Folio too.
Oh, okay.
A lot of the encounters in the glossography are Fiend Folio.
I wasn't sure. I thought that was a 3.5 edition because they came like a whole wild races and they made a big thing about them. But they are actually from the Fiend Folio. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It does. It does. The random encounter tables do tell you a lot about an
Yeah.
area or what's missing. Sometimes there's something that you're like, oh my gosh, how is that missing?
Yeah.
So, all right, these are the same mountains. They just change the name.
Oh, yeah, exactly. They change the names depending on who names them. There's a lot of mountains do that. It's like the Alps and the Carpathians and stuff like that. And the Dolomites and stuff. It depends on who names them. They might change character a bit from one end to the other. But when it comes to the Griffs, you have one cool place, and that's Garel Enkdal, that be the big orc nest. So they have an Underdark up there, I think. And Tostinka.
Wait, where is that? I'm looking at
south of Stonefist. You have Tostinka,
I
Skrelling's
see that.
Held.
There it is. Yep, I see that.
Skrelling's Held, and then you have the Garel Enkdal.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
You have it as its own kingdom because look, it's all red
Oh,
bordered.
yeah, but I just had to say because it's supposed to be thousands of orcs living, but they live underground. So I simply assume that they have like an entrance out there or something, so they can go in and out.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
But it's kind of cool. So it seems to have an Underdark up there, and plus that they're that kind of Greyhawk phenomenon. Ancient cultures always lived up in the high mountain peak somewhere. So
I like Garel Enkdal.
So-
I did a whole blog post on it.
yeah,
Mike, look, Mike, they're the wings of the Rakers. You're reading my mind.
Wings of
All right, so yeah, this white
Cool,
cloak was
yeah.
enchanted by a wizard who found and welcomed home along the Griff Mountains and the Rakers. He especially enjoyed his time on the Aarakocra bird people. It says it right in here in Greyhawk Adventures,
Yep.
and so he created
Yep.
this item to enhance. And
I think that is one item I used in my campaign.
yep, so wings are very, very
Yeah.
perceptive there, Mike. Very cool.
Very cool picture too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I was
also between Skrellingshald and Garel Enkdal, there is also one of these that I love, the passes of Greyhawk that I especially love the name, the Rock Egg Pass. And then in the southern end, it's called the Thunder Pass.
there's Rock
and-
Egg.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. I love these and the
What year was
Tail
this
Pass.
done? What was Thunder Pass named?
I think that one is named in the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer when they talked about the war and
Stolen right
the
from 13th Warrior.
Oh,
The
okay.
Thunder Cliffs. I guarantee you that's
Okay.
where they got it because that
Yeah.
movie's
But I think,
1999.
yeah, but I think it's from the stories either from Carl Sargent era when they talked about it, or from the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer when they talked about the war and how the Vatun stories and Ayus and the stone fists came down and invaded Ten and stuff like that. It's when those stories are told that's where the past names come from. They come from those stories.
I'm running a party through the 13th Warrior right now. They just left Calbit. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, Ooh.
I didn't even know that. Yeah. So what do you know about
Yeah.
Calbut? Does anyone know anything about Calbut in the 10?
Calbut is one of these places that got wiped out by the fists that came
This is
invaders. That's
576.
basic. Yeah, exactly.
So-
That's basically all I remember of it, and I don't think it was developed anymore. Any more stories about it, Mike? Do you have more?
Population.
Mike's looking it up.
Okay, awesome. Yep.
Population 14,500.
So it's
Okay.
a city. Yeah.
But it says then in brackets ruined, occupied by Stonehold.
Yeah.
So
It was one of 10 big
pre-wars,
cities.
that's a major city.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's one of the Duchy of 10 big cities. Yeah.
Very cool.
I
So
always played it as a also a fortress city guarding the pass.
so all right,
Yeah.
Scottish Jeff. I'm also gonna answer a question that Bobcat asked, and that was no, it was ruined during the wars, the Sergeant era wars. It's not ruined in 576.
No, it's after the Sergeant
Sergeant
era
Wars.
when he
Yeah.
screwed over half the setting with wars. Yeah.
So number one, I didn't know anything about Calbut, and I've been playing it for 41 years. So
See?
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter that you don't know about all this information in the lands,
Right.
and it's not. It really shouldn't keep you from diving into the setting at all. There's so much. Don't worry about it, man. That's why everyone's here to help. If you
Yeah.
you got to pick an area and play in it and just enjoy it. The best thing to do is get an area that has a lot of documentation, like Greyhawk, the Free Secret box set, or somewhere like that, and just work your way out, or
Yeah.
just play in one specific area. There's
Yeah.
so much to do. And then Bobcat asked, "Can you ever have too much old school D&D?" And the answer is no, never. And that was a while ago.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I want to make one geography comment about this area and one of
Sure.
the features. And there is a lake called the Lake Abbenfield that is in the Western Griff.
This right here. Yep, there
yeah,
it is.
exactly. And Greyhawk, the Flanies, is gifted with a lot of big lakes, huge lakes. But when it comes to small lakes, there is not enough of them. And this is probably because no one thought about Darlene and the maps in the early area. No one looked at detail that much. But Lake Abbenfield is one of these few lakes that I would call a mid-sized lake. It's about 50 miles long. So it's one of these mid-sized lakes that will be huge in most countries, but small in compared to the Great Lakes in America or the Near-Dove and the Great Lakes in the Flanies. So that's one of the things. I've added probably about 20 or 30 others. And when I do the map over again, I will probably add a few hundred, maybe 1,000 smaller ones that are from 1 to like 5, 10, 15 miles, that are lakes that are smaller than 30 miles, because that they would not show up on the Darlene map. And so I think I have fairly artistic license to add lakes up to about 30 miles in size.
I would say so.
On the other hand, the Anna Meyer map will show every swimming pool.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Extort Derek asked,
Yep.
who controls this lake post wars, and I think it's remote. I don't think anyone would.
I think it's mostly on the fist side of things,
Okay.
because the 10. So it's probably something that is in the borderlands between Iusian forces and the fists, and it's somewhere. So I have it on the ones claiming it are on my campaign map, and I think it's on that one too, that it's claimed. No, that one it's literally in the borderlands. I haven't changed my campaign map yet because I haven't adventured that area. But in that back then, there was like there was the rovers of the barons, but it was so far up in the mountains that they probably claimed it without any real ownership or control of it.
Yeah, I'd say there's good fishing there. So
yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Shinobi asked a question that requires a long answer, but you're going to try and give it in short. What software do you use for map making?
Okay, yeah.
Primarily.
Let's start the quick one and answer this one. This is 20-year-old technology. I used a program called Bryce that was version 5.5. That was from 98, 99 or something like that. And I just used that for years. And then I tweaked it and did a lot of post-processing in Photoshop to create this map. But the new generation of maps, I will use fully 3D software to create real 3D terrain. I will use World Machine, Gaia, View, TerraGen, and a bunch of other the 3D tools to make the new
Oh,
generation.
yeah.
So go to my Patreon blog or my website, and you can
I'll link
get
it.
a series of articles that depicts how the new generation of maps is taking shape and all the consideration and the tools behind it and stuff. So it's 20-year technology, and this map has details down to roughly 1 mile in size. If it's a mile big, it can show up on this map. The new map I'm doing is 5 feet things that are 5 feet
I wasn't
that can
kidding
show
about
up on
those
the map.
swimming pools.
Exactly. So porta potties are the smallest thing that can technically or
gosh.
theoretically show up on the
5
map.
feet
So to speak.
is like the adventure grid.
Exactly, it's
for
adventure. Yeah. So
characters.
we have So 1 pixel adventure map, so to
Crazy.
speak. So yeah.
And-
Yeah. So porta potties are the smallest thing that we can show up. Yeah.
So note for the time being, because it's not there yet, that these are fully zoomable, and you've always seen on my streams, I take an area that we're playing in, and I zoom in, and I snip it right on my screen and embed it right into my broadcaster software. Boom.
It's like Google Earth.
This is for what
the
you're.
file
What I'm,
size of sorry.
No, this is good. You got it. You got it right
yeah,
here.
the file
This is good for
size
now.
of this one is in JPEG version is
only
about
250.
250
250.
megabytes.
That's it.
Yeah, if you
So-
want a printable good PDF, is about 2 gigabytes, and if
Yeah.
you want the Illustrator files, you can edit it. It's also on my website. That's about 4.5 gigabyte in size.
So there you go. So we're in the
It's still
chorus.
small.
Sudrak, I just love your comment. That was awesome. Yeah, portable potties are coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Chorus Mountains, you have the snow and the ice
Yeah.
barbarians in this
Yeah,
area.
and there's a lot of cool features, not so much known to adventurers. We have the hanging glaciers of Highlands. Hang on a second, I need to zoom in so I can read that.
I got it. I got it.
Alisedran
I got it.
yeah. So the hanging glaciers of Alisedran, that area needs to reworked a little bit, because I read about them and I thought that area will be good, but I probably need to work a little bit to make it the hanging glaciers, which will be an awesome, interesting. So I'm going to hold off a few years for that one, because I would probably need Mudbox or something cool to really model hanging glaciers and stuff. But it's interesting.
So,
Really,
Anna,
yeah.
Linder says the course seem geologically unlikely. Are there earthly precedents for peninsula mountain ranges?
Yes, look at Alaska. I think it's a perfect, good example of northern mountain range, and there are plenty. Greenland has hills like that, and Kamchatka on the Russian side, there's also mountain ranges really far north that are tall that way. So yeah, so plate tectonics and volcanic activity and stuff can happen as well way up in the north as it can south somewhere. So there's plenty. But what happens with mountain ranges up there, up so far north, in at least on planet Earth, is that every 200,000 years at least, or something like that, you have an ice age normally, and sometimes even more often, and they tend to grind down mountains. But what happens is that mountains that are really tall, they stick out of the ice. So what you get is that you get these rounded glaciated valleys, but you get the peaks. And if you go to, perfect examples are the Andes in the south and the Dolomites and parts of the Alps, because you have these kind of eroded valleys that are very rounded, glaciated valleys, but then you get the peaks that are very sharp and edgy and cracky and so on, because they were never grounded down by the ice, they were above the ice. So you get a lot of cool type of mountains that could look very impressive for adventuring and stuff from and you have lots of glaciers and stuff. So you have
I would imagine. One of the references I saw on the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer said that the Course Mountains are poor in natural, resources.
That might very well be, because what is not in the mountains literally will be carried away by ice or hidden by ice and stuff, because if you go up north, most of the valleys are full of glaciers and snow and ice. So even if there are ridges, it's not because the ridges aren't there, it's probably because they're really hard to get to, both because it's cold and dark and stuff, but also because it's hidden under ice and it's bitterly cold and difficult to get to. So yeah.
Well, I knew you'd have an actual, scientific reason for it. I
Yeah.
assume writers of the LGG are going by previous
Oh yeah.
publications.
Yeah.
And the resource map on here says like the snow barbarians has gems and copper. The
Yeah.
ice barbarians have copper and gems
Yeah.
as well.
But you have an
So
interest.
the poorest of poor minerals.
Yeah, but you have an interesting source, because when you have a climate like that, when you have things are frozen, you have a frozen hell over winter, you have a lot of snow melt in the summer. So there is a lot of interesting resources that will actually come down into the rivers in spring, meaning you can pan for gold, you can pan for all sorts of metals and diamonds and whatnot that actually comes that,
Well, yeah,
that
right
spits
next
out.
door, the
Yeah.
frost barbarians have silver and gold. And I'm thinking, well, most of that's got to be the Griffs then. But the frost barbarians is also on the coarse side.
Yeah,
Like they're in
so
between.
yeah, but I would say instead of having to dig deep into the mountains, they might actually sit and pan it like the gold miners did in Northern California and stuff.
Sure.
So because that is remnants of the last ice age and stuff that things are sitting in riverbeds and stuff. So and where you have huge rivers that actually take a lot of dirt and stuff out and minerals from the mountains and deposit them on the lowlands in the rivers, that might be a lucrative way of getting resources. So we might have gold diggers and others that do what the gold miners did in California and others back in the 19th century that go up there and do it. But then you have to fight the trolls and the other stuff that are also out there. So yeah.
So here's a magic item from the area: white armor of the Griff Mountains.
Oh.
After tribesmen of the Griff Mountains slew an adult white dragon, they sold the hide to dwarven armorers who created a suit of scale mail +3. Human-sized wearer, though a dwarf or halfling can wear it at a penalty of -1. Well, that's weird. That it's human-sized, but a dwarf or halfling can wear it. It's bizarre.
Well,
that's bizarre.
it's magical. It might
it might shrink a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the same half for cold damage for none. So a lot of dragon hide armors in here.
I love the armors in that book.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to my favorite mountain range before whoops. Here we go. Smack dab here.
The Lort Mills. Yes.
And the Cron Hills. So let's start with the Cron Hills.
Yeah.
So, and look, and as I said, this looks like the Vale of the Mage here with all that stuff in the area. But the Crown Hills are very old, I'm assuming, and they're very gnomish, gnome and halfling.
Yeah, yeah, old and eroded, and so that means that they might have more caves and stuff like that than younger mountains do. So yeah.
The glassography has encounter charts have gnomes at 20%.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably the most largest area of gnomes in the Flannis is here. So
Crum Hills.
yeah. I think this was made before those movies in this case. So
I remember I was gaming when Conan came, and it was like, yes, fantasy movies, and especially the later Conan, they were just like in D&D adventuring party. So
yes. That's true. That is so true. But a lot of adventuring hooks in this area, of course.
Yeah.
I know John at Blue Box is in here a while.
And I see the Lort Mills something in the range more like the Scandinavian mountains, the Appalachians, and others that there are. And then with some higher, especially in the northern end, higher peaks, maybe up to like 6,000. 7,000 feet or something like that, the tallest, something like that, or maybe 8,000 feet, maybe 9 or on the tallest peaks, and then south the more rounded old eroded peaks that are 5,000-6,000
Thank you,
something like that.
Thank you very much, Pine Pie. Really appreciate that.
All
right, so I thought there was a Cron Hills item. I could be smoking something. There's a Star of Selene. I could have sworn there was something at the Cron Hills. I guess I'm wrong, but
Lort, that's an interesting what Lort actually stands for.
And what does Lort stand for?
Gaetano has a Lort equals trolls? Question mark?
Yeah, I think it does.
That's an awesome question. Anyone who knows that to what it stands for? Lut meaning in Swedish and Scandinavian languages that means dirt.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
Yep. Lut means dirt.
So the Lort Mills run and then turn into the Larges north, right? The Larges are up here.
Oh yeah, they're like the Cron Hills is in the east. So when the
Right.
foothills, when they turn into foothills, they change the name into
Right.
yeah.
Yep.
So you
I
have
don't know
like
much about the Larges. I don't think I've ever used them in an adventure.
No, me neither. That's one of these that I think the name appears on the Darlene map too. So they are named that way from the early on. Yeah.
What's up, Orcus? Good to see you, man.
Yeah.
Good to see
So
you from
I
Norway.
see that. Yeah. So I see that the Lordish in the north are kind of lower foothills, and then you have the center north part is the tallest, hardest rock in the Lort Mills, and then they kind of fade off towards the south, and then they kind of raise up again at the very south end in Portmarsh, where you have the leftovers that are still geologically active.
And look, we have an old board game that we all had when we were a kid, spinning the Dark Tower right there.
Yeah,
so,
and Haradra, how you pronounce it. Yeah.
So I don't know if either of these individuals are on. I haven't seen them, but please note that there is a special project that Rich and David Leonard are doing in the Lort Mills, and it's the Low Road project, which is mentioned.
Haradra, Lendris, Haradra is an old Flan stronghold.
Yep, it's ruins.
Yep, it's ruins. It's one of the old Flan strongholds that predates the Vecna even.
Thank you, Patrick.
So it's one of the original early Flan strongholds that it's ruined there, and it's written about in various sources mentioned here and there. And the Dark Tower comes from there too. And I also see the Lort Mills, the Scandinavian mountains, the Appalachians, but also the Scottish Highlands and stuff are things that I think are similar, and the Urals in Russia are other mountains that I think could be similar to the Lort Mills in many ways.
So I'm excited for this project to come out. There's an entire underground passage system that they're working on, right? From the dwarves going almost like a super highway, belief with
and there's also old Orcish and humanoid settlements in the Lort Mills from
the Hateful Wars, which is
exactly
only 100
before the hate. Yeah.
It's only like 100 years, but not even that before you start in the 576. 570.
Yeah. So meaning, so they should all be there, emptied and the humanoids chased away, but the settlements are still there.
Yeah. Here's one here, like what's this? Grot or Grot.
Yeah. Those names come from various sources. I can't name exactly where the top of the head where they come from, but they are named in various places. So yeah,
that's definitely fan community. I wouldn't be surprised if that was an Orth journal or an
I think it's an Orth journal.
Almost a second hype train, everyone. So fancy new shield. Which one? What did you get? Yeah. So you have
some of these shields are old, like the Duchy and the County of Ulex are my versions of the shields that are from the.
But if you notice, since this is my map, we have some of my shields.
Yes, you have a bunch of new shields you can talk about.
Oh, there you go. Second one of Legends and Lore. Wow.
Whoa, we don't get those usually.
No, because you had to be like an hour apart for them. So very, very cool. All right, so as you're coming down the Lort Mills, and this low road runs the entire length. There's a lot of notations in this area, and you come down, and I'm gonna be toot my own horn. Most of these areas in this area are all, except for Esmond, are all added by me. There you go. There's Altamira, and you run through, and they turn into There's the old hills here, right, which is part of the county of Ulick. Yep, mostly county of Ulick. Jernmer's here. Capital County Ulick, which is way out of the way when you think about it compared to the rest of the county of Ulick.
Yeah, but it makes sense to have it there on the river because that's where you have connections to the Sheldamar Valley, so to speak.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So, Patrick, thanks, man.
The rest of the halflings didn't like the city, so they moved out to the burbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then running through, and these hills aren't really have a specific name on them. Down south.
that
Into the
but
principality.
they're also tuning away, so to speak. Even when you look at the Darlene map, they seem to fade off towards the south.
Yeah.
So it's kind of So the Lort Mills
Phew, you guys are insane tonight.
are much are having the biggest peaks are up north, and then it kind of fades off as it reached the southern end.
We will be revisiting this whole area in the next week to talk about the realms. Really, the only dwarven realm outside of a city-state, right? You have city-states, but you don't have any other true dwarven realms.
It's the Ulex and Iron Gate and Iron Hills.
Iron Gate's not a dwarven realm,
Okay.
though. It's
Okay, yeah.
Gloriols is.
Gloriols is but the Gloriols
Yep.
is in its own country note, right?
Mm.
Gloriols
Yep.
is in hills, right? I mean,
And
I know
also
it's
one of these
splitting
that is not
hairs.
listed. Yeah, and it's also
Yeah.
not listed in the Darlene or the box set. It's mentioned, but it's
Right.
not listed as its own country, which is kind of
Yeah, everyone forgets the Gloriols.
But that's something
absolutely.
for next week. Yep, that's something for
Yeah,
next
you'll
week.
look
to
as the
dig into.
Appalachia Greyhawk. I agree 100% there.
Yeah, I think so too. Yep.
And when we come over to here, we got lots of hills in the Pomars, right? We got the
Yeah,
Drunken
but you have a gap in between where the Jewel River comes out, so that
huge
it seems
valley.
to-
Yeah.
So it seems to be there's like geology in between, so to speak, and then you have the Pomarsh is
So I
one of
always get
these-
my stones busted that Altamira is not in the Sheldamar because it's on this side of the hills. Okay.
Exactly. No, it's not on the in the
Neither is
Sheldamar. No,
Neither is Selene,
Yeah.
right?
it's on the eastern side of, so it's technically geographically not in the Sheldamar Valley.
So I am thinking, not done yet, but I'm thinking that, and as we got the hills, as you can see, it gets higher and higher in the hills. There's the Tower of the Heavens, the Twisted Forest, where John was on Tuesday night. You got Kellen Lakos here, the stronghold of the slavers, right? And you got a whole bunch Stoneheim, which is not really much detail on it. I think Gary always said Gary always says what's going on in blue here, which is another location that it's more the hills have gone away, but it's a hilly area. I think I may have found a publication by Troller Games that could be blue.
In my campaign, the blue is an area where the Scarlet Brotherhood is hanging on. They're holding on to scant and blue so they can try and narrow or keep an eye on trade and stuff and do a barrier. So, and also because what they do is that they maintaining helping the humanoids by giving them goods and stuff like that. So, and then they can get slaves and other stuff to begin with. So they have a trade agreement with the humanoids, and they also fund the humanoids and help them to stay in business, because that actually destabilizes the other Scarlet Brotherhood's enemies, so to speak.
Keep Scarlet Brotherhood away from this side of the map. Sorry.
Exactly, but for me, I think it makes perfect sense to have it, and also since Gary had in the Gord books that the Scarlet Brotherhood was part of, was holding on to Strandkeep Castle, so there is mention of them being in
holding on or there.
They were there when Gord and Chert and the others stormed it.
Right, but just a couple of them.
I don't know. They had their flag up and stuff, so I don't think the story told how many, but to me it makes perfect political sense for the Scarlet Brotherhood to at least help out the humanoids for political reasons, so to speak.
Yes, you did. You missed it, Zudrak. You missed it. It was very first. So it's all good. There are some other. There's an item in here that it's the Ring of the Pomarsh. It's really nasty for this area of the hills, and it kind of gives you the ability, if I recall correctly, the very same. Here it is. Let me pop this up. So if you want to become a barbarian lord of the Pomarsh, you want this item. This item is, I think, a little overpowered, but who cares, right?
Yep.
So Ring of the Pomarsh.
It might be fun to assume that Tourist Mark has that ring.
Yeah, this black ring is created by Wizards from the Wild Coast, hating all and thank you very much. Oh, Vamp! Oh my gosh, thank you, man. So this ring allows characters of evil alignment to gather a horde of goblins, ogres, or orcs. And there it is. Your XP divided by those numbers will give you what you want. And it must be raised for a specific short-term purpose. For example, raid the county of Ulick or destroy elves in Selene. Very, very nice. So yeah, it is like a summoning a barbarian horde. So there you go, a very cool item from that area for you. Ah, mountains, love it. So what have we missed, everyone?
Yells.
Oh, we have missed. Yeah, we have missed
okay.
a lot of. But yeah, we before we what time? We have a little bit of time because we have one of my absolute favorite
Let's do
hills
it.
that we need to talk about, and that's the Howling Hills.
Oh, yeah.
Those some of my. It's one of these forgotten hills that are off the beaten
Yep,
track
here we
and
go.
not the biggest ones geographically,
No,
but they are cool up
yeah,
there. So
definitely.
these
Soul
yeah,
husks.
I take them. They are like the Scottish hills, like the Lort Mills and stuff, but further north. Meaning they're old, rugged, worn down, full of caves and stuff, and they also come with extensive underground. And that's where I use mines as few resources, and the orcs and stuff. They kind of the humanoids live underground, and you have like the there's some awesome soul husk caverns and Drenghus and others. So yeah, so they're full of cool names. They're full of cool monsters, and they're in an awesome, fun area. So I can see a future campaign where you play wolf nomads and you go hunting in the Howling Hills. That will be a fun campaign to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone asked, "The land is black ice mountain ranges?" No, it's just black ice.
That's one of the that I was going to question. Meaning, are there mountains under there or not?
Could be.
Exactly, it could be. It's like Greenland. You don't or Antarctica. You don't really know until you can see through the ice somehow, so to speak.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'd be disappointed if there wasn't.
Exactly. I'm kind of So I'm not sure yet. So I kind of made it ambiguous. So yeah, it's one of these things to start thinking about. So yeah.
We also have so you have the Dragon Hills up here, and you also have the Wastes, which are more like hills too.
Yeah, that is one of these hills that I needed to add because all the rivers and the cold marshes drain south. So I needed to elevate the coast to make. Yeah, so half of that is published or canon. The other half is me having to push the coast up a bit. So yeah.
Very cool. All right, so if we come down here, we really didn't hit that much. I know we touched them.
Yeah, when we have Parentland is one of these interesting that is very surrounded by mountains on basic almost all the sides, which means that I think Parentland is a very, very dry area, just like all for the same reason, colder and dry, so to speak. So there's not much moisture and stuff. So Lake Quag basically comes because it's draining from the mountains. So Parentland has a lot of water, but it's not coming from rain. It's coming from like in Ull, it comes through rivers and creeks and stuff.
Yep,
so it's dry apart. It's a dry area with a lot of water, which it's counterproductive. It always sounds very counterintuitive, but I think that's the case. Things like Himalayas are very, very dry, bone dry, but there are lakes and rivers in it.
So
I like referring to the resource map often when I'm thinking about these mountains, and surprisingly in the box set, Parentland's only material resource is copper.
Doesn't make sense.
Well, it can make sense. You can have copper coming out of the meaning they have so many mountains and also so many rivers and stuff like that, cracks here.
Is that a resource, or is that mining?
That's
because with Lake Quag, you would think that it's not a dead lake.
Well, here's the thing: all the other nations that surround the atolls have better resources. Gold, silver.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
That's kind of weird because they should have some metals and stuff in there, and Lake Quag probably has a lot of fish in it and stuff. But I don't think being a farmer is probably not that lucrative in
Thank you for the second hype train tonight, everyone. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever had 2 hype trains on Legends of Lore. I don't remember. We may have one time when Leonard
I think
was
we've had a couple of times,
rolling.
but not often. So this is kind of awesome. And level 3 the second time.
I know it's insane. A 4 and a 3. Yeah. So what can you tell us about the Clatspurs?
Clatspurs, I just see them as the eastern spur of the Yattles. But the interesting thing to me is that the river going through the mountains like that doesn't really make sense, but it's a fantasy world, so we have to live with it. But to me, it would be much more logical if the Lake Quag would drain north. But now we have to make the wolf and the tiger nomads are actually raised up plateaus, like 4,000 feet above sea level.
Right.
And that means that the Lake Quag is like a big cauldron. And there was some sort of crack between the mountains and the river started that way. And there are examples on Earth that on mountains or rivers that does that. So it's not unheard of.
Jeff, I'm going to say no, that it doesn't have poor oxygen levels. Look at all the settlements on the lake. My guess is that there's decent commerce coming from the lake with all those towns.
And oxygen levels start to drop at 30,000 or at 10,000 feet. So below 10,000 feet, no problem. But take in the Himalayas, the people that live in Tibet and stuff, some of them live in 20,000
It's like
feet.
the Caspian.
Exactly. So some of them they live, and so Lake Quag will probably, and it gets new water coming in a lot of times, so it's probably fairly rich, but it's deep. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a bit like the Lake Baikal or something like that. I'm sure it's the Nurdiv and Lake Quag probably compete on being the deepest. And Still is probably not anywhere near as deep. I just get the sense that a lake like that with mountains around it usually are very deep. Yeah. And Still is probably a very shallow lake comparatively.
And then you got the atolls running south, right? You got the atolls. What's that, Mike?
I'm just reading. Light stands away.
Mm-hmm. Altitude sickness can get really nasty.
What is Lands of Kunda clan?
Oh yeah, that's a dwarven clan that lives in between the two, and you have Lake Exag, or like Exag is one of these free cities up there. So they kind of trade with the Baklunish, and they have a tunnel under the mountains. So they trade with the Baklunish towards the Parentland side. So they are the traders in between. So you can, and I'm not really sure where it came from, but I think it's a living Greyhawk thingy. But
it's that 10,000-year-old city.
Exag, I think it's from earlier, mentioned earlier in the thing. So it's one of these free cities, and it might have been, my idea is that it was free because it was never conquered by the Great Kingdom, and that's why it was separate from it was not conquered. So Parentland was conquered by the Great Kingdom, and then when the Great Kingdom withdrew, they became Parentland. But Exag was probably never conquered by the Great Kingdom, so that's why it's
I've never used it in my campaign. Me
neither. So I never campaigned up there. So yeah. It's just my ideas of why things are the way they are, so to speak. I just want to, I'm a political nerd too much that I want to have reasons for everything.
This area is filled up more than I would think. I mean, there's a lot of, this has got to be Living Greyhawk done. I mean, there's a lot of detail.
But there were other stuff, meaning that we had a book, Lake Quag, whatever, something. And
that's right.
Parentland is one of these areas that have been, things have been added to it over years and years and years. So it's one of these areas that have received quite a bit of treatment over the years. But you also have one of the coolest features, I think, it's the Worm's Tail Pass between Ket and Parentland. I think it's one of these, that's one of these, if I want to have a road journey adventure, I want to have an adventure. You go from Crestable to Molvar, or the other way around.
Here we go.
I would love to have an adventure there where you fight things like, first you have robbers and you have monsters, you have the environment, getting lost, and all sorts of stuff. And simply to have one of the coolest areas mapped, so to speak, because it's majestic, it's huge. It's like going through the Khyber Pass in between Pakistan and India, or up in Pakistan and China or something like that. It's the K2 Pass in Himalayas or something. It's the Flanese equivalent of going through the up in the
Molvar all the way up here to Crestable.
Wow.
Very cool.
It's interesting. I don't really see it that oxygen levels decline with elevation the way they do in the, because you have the plane of air. and so I'm thinking that it might work differently. I'm not sure how I want it to work yet, but I'm having ideas that I want to start seeing. And then you might have the plane a vacuum out there, so to speak, or something. So we'll see. Yeah.
I got a show here. Here's Igwolf's Horn and the Lost
Yes.
Caverns of
Mhm.
Shokanth.
There's some
So-
yeah, that's some of these most iconic areas with lots of cool stuff. So from the Temple of Thuristun, Igvil's Horn, the Obsidian Citadel, Mordenkainen's, and Lost Caverns of Zoikant, Mount Zoikant, Mount Grast,
Mhm.
and then you have the
Elana's
Elona's Scar.
Yeah.
That is another even more brutal pass to go across the mountains.
And all, and
High
High
Folk
Folks
too.
on the one end. So,
Yeah, and Fulver in Kent. So there are some awesome, and High Folk is one of these really interesting areas. It's a bit like the Elrond's. Hang on a second. My Middle Earth knowledge.
Anyone?
Yeah. Hang on.
Rivendell.
Rivendell, exactly,
Rivendell.
Rivendell. So it's like the equivalent. You have that kind of beautiful elven location,
I
and you have
agree.
huge mountains in the background that are like
Yes.
enormously. And so it's probably one of these. If I wanted to live in one area in the Flannies for its geographical beauty, High Folk will be very, very high on that scale. I think that the areas southern Yatils and the western Vestvi, the High Folk is probably one of the must be scenic. So if there's one area I want to make landscape photography from Greyhawk, High Folk is high on my list to make beautiful, so to speak. So yeah.
If you Amy may know this. My buddy Dungeon Meister has a lot of scenes in High Folk, because High Folk's one of his areas that his group adventures out of. So if you want to see some really cool Elvish pictures of High Folk, they're on his site. Let me see if I still got him on link. Digital graphics. I may have moved it. Okay, well, there it is.
Yeah, it's a good comment, Moose, about that the oxygen rich that the water fall in east and stuff when you have weather and temperature changes that kind of upsets the water. So you get like oxygenated twice a year, and depending on the climate, different types of the year, and climates that are very steady, you might get stagnant water that are not, and also salinity. Meaning, if you have all fresh water, that's okay. But you have areas like the Baltic Sea in the real world where you have salty seawater and brackish and fresh water, and the seawater kind of flows under the salty water, and it doesn't get replenished, and it gets very, very non-oxygenated, and you have like huge areas that die off all the fish and stuff. So there is a lot of things you can play. And then in the fantasy world, you can always put in other cool stuff that affects things, that can cause plagues and whatnot. So yeah.
Okay.
And but yeah.
What did we miss? We got a lot of it.
I think when we
we never really went over the Aberals real quick here.
Yeah, and then we have one more that we have to do, but please do this first.
Well, sorry. So the Aberals has got a lot going on. You got, between the Aberals and the Crystal Mist, you have Delmadin, Caracast, and Graysmere, all Dwarven kingdoms here. You got a whole bunch of noted areas from the Ashes box set. If you go further up here, there is the Doom Grinder right here. Yay! All right, so there.
It's the oldest part of Greyhawk, so to speak. The first ones that got detailed.
One of my favorite places, Karastein's Castle, and Gesharon in the Joust is from there. Okay, you get eliminated by the Black Knight in the first round. A lot of cool things. You have the Star Cairns over here, and you have these lower hills running all throughout down into the almost into the Bright Desert. So the Aberals are really cool. And then I forget what the Black Scar is. That's a meteor strike, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's a meteor strike.
Because I know Canadian asked about it.
Going to that was, hang on a second here. It was the
there's a meteor strike there, Patrick.
Yeah, it's the one of the wizards had his. It was someone told me the story and I read it. It's one of the I forgot which one. that had either he there was some mishap where
Right.
there were big meteors striking
Lysandrid?
that area.
Was it Lysandrid?
Exactly. Yeah, Lysandrid. Yep. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yep.
So
So it's
yeah,
from
there's your
the
meteor
story about
strike.
him. So yeah. So
There's different-
and since there was nothing in the story that wiped out any major settlements and stuff, that's why I took that
Surprise.
area that was the least kind of, it was the most out of the way you can get in the Aborals. That's why I struck it there. So yeah.
And even notice, even near Harby, you got some smaller hills here. Here's the Ghost Tower of Inverness. By the way, working on Alan Hammock. So, and for Ghost, of Ghost Tower fame. So, and,
Yep,
Star
mhm.
Camp,
Can't
Storm
wait.
Keep, My Gravemore.
Yeah, thank you everyone in chat who helps me. Like, that was
that's
awesome.
a great
Thank you.
thing.
Yep.
Running up here, and like I said, the Cairn Hills sweep all the way around, and then
Yep.
you got Diamond Lake, and you got all the other points of note out here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And then you have the Greyhawk
Yorkshire.
Peninsula that I just
Yeah.
see as an extension of the Cairn Hills
Yeah.
on the western side. So you
absolutely.
yeah.
Definitely all hills.
Windsor's Castle.
And I see
Yeah.
the Cairn Hills as one of these mishmash between most of the rock is sedimentary, like limestone, old, full of caves, and erodes away easily. And then there are hard parts of it. There are
Very
granite
close.
sticking out, like the Aberrals and stuff. You have a few granite peaks and hardened things that stick out here and there, so to speak.
My
And
brain
then
just
you have
went
a lot of-
dead. Gary said the Soul Huts.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dang it.
They're
Sul Huts, yeah. The Sul Huts are the north of the Sea of Dust. That's the Sul Hust.
There are dark elves in the Sul Huts.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Go south a bit. Yep, there you go.
Yep.
And then there's one set of Highlands that we have to talk about before we start. But we
Sure.
have a little bit of time. Yep. But that's an interesting mountains, and it's also one of these. Were they there before the invoked devastation, the twin cataclysms, or not?
Yes.
I think it were. I think they were, because they look kind of and seem to be. They're not volcanic particularly, so they seem to be regular tectonic mountains. So yeah, I would
There's
say that they
Lunakar.
were there.
Lunakar.
There's Lunakar.
Lunakar. Yep.
So, all right. So where do we need to go, Anna?
We need to go and check out one of the highlands, the Okalashna Plateau. That
Okay.
is very,
The
very
plateau?
famous, but not under that name, so to speak.
What's
the name
this?
kind of disappears.
Is
Yes,
it this?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, it's where the
That's what I thought.
the plateau is the name of the
plateau
Scholar
in Tilbury
Brotherhood Plateau
Peninsula.
is Okalashna Plateau, one of these, like the Taival Tundra. I love these kind of cool names. But the name Okalashna Plateau is not known by that many. You all talk about the Tilvanat Peninsula is a little bit more known,
Oh yeah.
and Scholar Brotherhood is what people normally say. But the plateau, and it's one of the cool. I worked a lot on that thing. It's not perfect, but it's one of the coolest feature on my map that I'm most proud of. I think it looks cool. So
I love the Scarlet Brotherhood. Stay here on the peninsula.
Yeah.
Gary, come. Yes.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool. I see it as this kind of, probably it might be a remnant of one of these old volcanoes, these kind of what do they call them, like the Yellowstone, these someone has to remember what these kind of caldera volcanoes. It might be an old caldera volcano that erupted millions of years ago, and you get the Okalashna is that hard basalt that used to be the center of the volcano that hardened, and then the rest of the softer thing got eroded away, and that is kept, so to speak. There's a lot of what they call mesas that we have some here in Southern California that are old stuff like that. And they're in Scotland. India has some huge areas that are mesas that used to be big volcanoes, and then it eroded away, and only the hardest part of the lava that was an old lava lake that cooled slowly, and it became a level plateau. And I can see the Okalashna Plateau being that type of
it's
mesa,
large.
so to speak.
It's pretty big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
cool.
But it's a fantasy world. You can
Yeah,
have
and
even on Earth back in billions of years ago, you had volcanoes that were hundreds of miles across. So in
Excuse me.
India and
So
Siberia have
powerful,
some of
you
these
know.
that are huge, but they are very old, so to speak. So, but it might be the same thing here. So yeah,
Awesome.
yep.
So look at
so
that.
It's a cool.
With like 12 minutes to go
Yeah,
there,
mhm.
the Giants
I think
Causeway
we've
is
gone
not.
over a
Yeah.
fair bit of the Highlands. We missed a few,
Sea
like the
Princes.
yeah,
Sea
Sea
Princess has the
Princes.
Kampf Mountain.
Exactly, they have some of these hidden little small ones. So
So
the
it's a little
Kampf
bitty
Mountains,
thing.
yeah, and
The Duchy of
the
Berghoff.
Tigerfield Mountains,
Yeah,
and yeah. Mhm.
small
It's a
ones.
bit like the Glorioles and the Hestmarks and stuff. A few of these that
Yeah.
get missed, and the
Tiny little
Howlings and
ones.
stuff. So yeah, mhm.
Yeah,
And they have the
it
what's
reminds
called
me of the Badlands in Washington a little bit.
yeah,
Right, that
and the
area that was like a huge
Spendlow
floodplain
Valley.
and dug out,
Mhm.
from
Yeah,
glacial. Yeah,
yeah,
that kind of is what it reminds me
mhm.
of.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
very cool.
It's
So Orcus, would a P ability of a Greyhawk digital map app? So
yep. Von Moltke, yeah, exactly. Those plateau
Hmm.
that there is, yeah, like in South America, Venezuela. Those are also, some of them are hardened. Some of them are old hardened granite rocks, and then that was surrounded by softer rocks that got eroded away. And some of them are old remnants of volcanoes that got left. But usually they are simply things that left standing with a huge mountain of softer rock gets eroded away, and it's the hard core that get left
where are the
that
tours?
forms these kind of mesas.
My brain
that
just went
stick out.
dead.
Okay, yeah.
Gary said the tours.
Oh yeah, the tours that they're just north of the Sea Princes. That are the
I forget
foothills of the
Yeah.
Crystal Mist.
Okay.
Now you're getting
Yeah.
into the little.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
those
we
are the
go.
tours.
'Cause you got the
Now we get into the small ones, like the
Yeah.
Cron Hills and
These are Highlands.
mhm,
These are
Clansburgs.
lowlands.
Yeah, mhm.
good hills too, right here.
Yeah, exactly. Good hills and stuff. There are plenty, like the Flinty Hills and stuff.
Where's Night Below? It's right in this area right here, right? It's in the Flinty
Night
Hills.
Below is set north of
Yodelers?
of the tours. Yeah,
Okay.
north of the
Tours.
tours.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's set just
So
north of
right
that.
there.
You have the Blannery Hills north of it, and the
Got it.
Patchwork Hills and stuff.
Yeah,
They are from and the Hornwood and stuff there.
Yep.
They are from the Night Below area. Yeah.
Cool.
And one of the biggest rivers
See
in
you,
the
Patrick.
Flanies, Javan, one
Thank
of
you.
the really big ones.
Hi, Patrick.
Yep. Bye.
I'm sorry. What was that, Anna?
Oh yeah, Javan is one of the biggest rivers because it drains the Crystal Mist and the Barrier Peaks and stuff. So it's probably one of the water-rich, just like the Vilverdeva and the Nesser and stuff. So some of these really big rivers. And then you have some of the under the Dreadwoods or some hills too that don't really have much of a name, but there are a little bit of hills there too. So yeah.
Yeah, but there's only
Just
one
do-
area you need to worry about here, and that is the Dun Mounds.
Oh
Sorry,
yes,
sorry.
exactly. Yeah.
Sorry,
mhm,
that was a bad plug. So
Yeah.
yeah, it looks like
Let's
there's
see.
hills running through the Dreadwood. So
Yeah. But we have, and then we have like the really hidden ones, like the Hestmark Islands. We have the headlands, the Barak Tors, the Iron Hills. Meaning that there are plenty of hills here. The Hollow Highlands, the Glorioles, the
We'll probably be talking about
Hestmarks.
them next week.
Yeah. So meaning we have all these kind of small hidden ones that are normally forgotten and overlooked. So yeah.
So we got a lot of
Yeah.
great ones
Yeah.
tonight, which is really
I'm sorry I'm
good.
babbling so
That's
much, but I
okay.
love this topic.
No,
This is
it's
one
a
of my
great-
favorite. It's very geographical.
A
so
great
it's kind of,
great topic tonight. So all right, note this because I am burning out. I had a long work day today.
Yeah.
We will always can continue things, right? And we're
Mm-hmm.
having a real good discussion on the episode Rocks. You know that. Thanks. What's cool about these is that Anna gets to go over the maps and we get to find out how much detail there really is in Greyhawk, all around. But there's how much space there is between everything.
Oh
And you
yeah,
can always
it's a
add.
lot of it.
You can
Mhm.
always add your own content wherever you go, and that's the great thing about it. Here, let me do this. See if I can get. There we go. Show the
Yeah,
Jim Moore
Death
stuff.
McDoom. That's an awesome comment. That's
Yes.
today's best comment. Yep.
Awesome. All right. So, Mike, what?
I think this show has peaked. Yeah, I think
Nice.
so too. We're in the valleys now. Yep.
Oh man.
Yep.
So, Mike, what's going on with you, man? Now that you're on hiatus or
Hey
sabbatical?
man, I'm gaming. I'm
Yeah.
in a game with Gary. We're
Wow.
lost on an island,
Who's DMing?
and
Who's DMing? Excuse me.
Rich is.
Oh, got in
Yeah.
that. That's awesome.
So lots of
Hey, Kayla.
dangers there. I might be starting up a Sea Princess campaign.
Why you should. That'd be awesome.
Well, I mean, it depends on if I can get the friends together. And otherwise, my other games are all like Forgotten Realms games. 2 Forgotten Realms games, 2 Greyhawk games.
Cool.
It's a good balance.
Always good. So, did you do an article for Postfest?
It's almost done. It's like
Ooh.
75% done.
There you go.
I just keep forgetting to work on it. So, well,
It's just like I keep on forgetting to do the Duchy of Eula card. I still have to do that for Rich.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Busy week so far. Four streams in 5 nights. So this is the kickoff of a very busy week too for streaming. Well, that's good, Mike. Things are moving along. Definitely should
Yeah.
restart that Sea Princess. That would be awesome. Definitely. All right, Anna. What else is going on with you?
Well, let's start with the gaming first. On Sunday, my perpetual horrible campaign when I'm abusing players by not, especially their characters. We're going to have the session 8, and they're still 0 level because they've been 0 level forever in this campaign. But this upcoming session will be about the Vakunis spell book that they captured. And when they killed Vakunis, they have a spell book, and that spell book is special, very special, and it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with the demonologist spell book that has a life of its own, so to speak, because and this backstory about the spell book is that the spell book is older than Vakunis, at least the incarnation of Vakunis that they killed, and the spell book is kind of a demon in itself. And also the spell book was something that I was going to introduce as a major part of the plot when they were around 10th level, and I was just going to have Vakunis appear a little bit, but thanks to the players and some bad rolls on my part and good rolls on their part, Vakunis get killed. So now all of a sudden I have kind of an artifact, a magic item that was inserted with the camp before the characters reached 1st level that they were not supposed to have had until they were 10th level. And my campaigns, I don't change things because of the level the players are in. So this now, there are some interesting things that can go horribly wrong, and we might get a TPK, or it might go very, very well, and we might have 1st level characters very soon. So we'll see. We have to report on that.
I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah. Hit points at 0 level. I have, because I wanted to boost really low level character compared to high levels. So your minimum hit points is your constitution score. So if you have 10 constitution, you have 10 hit points. That's the minimum. And then you gain hit points as you level up. So my characters have from 7 or 8 or so hit points to maybe 11 or 12, the one that had the most, so to speak. So it ranged probably from 7, I think, the lowest, to 12, the highest. So yeah, because some of the characters have managed to train or put more points into constitution than others. So it ranged from maybe 6 to 12 or 7 to 12. Or 11. So that's how I calculate it, because I want characters to have at least a bit more oomph when they're low level, so to speak, without gaining more when they're higher level.
Awesome.
Yep.
So, anything else brewing?
Oh yeah. I'm also going to be a player in Brian Wakenham's campaign, Nagoya Joe. He's often lurking here. He's a player in my campaign, so I'm going to play in his campaign that will be set in the Olmans, I think, down in Olman.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's very, very interesting. So we had like a zero session where we talked about the
that's
campaign.
what Sales of the Azure is.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep. So I don't know much detail yet. We haven't made up our characters yet, so it's in early stages. But I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know
you guys
yet,
might be close to where me and Gary's campaign is set. Come and pick us up.
Okay, yeah, we have to. Yep. So that will be very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to that. So thank you so much, Brian, for inviting me to
That's
that campaign.
awesome.
So some awesome players and stuff in there. And then on the mapping front, I'm working on texturing. I'm moving into vegetation, so there will be more posts. And I know I bore out some of you with all these kind of map technical posts and stuff, but
Trees.
yeah, so trees is coming up, and there will be more stuff on texturing and stuff. But I also know that it's very, very technical heavy, but it needs to be, in order to develop a new generation maps, is very, very technical. So bear with me a bit. But there's also some other posts coming. One is I have to dig into Lendor Isles, and then we have one of the mysteries, kind of little bit difficult things with the Lendor Isles, is the placement of Laurel Tarma and Pelrel Tarma and so on, because Len had them originally on had Laurel Tarma spelled in one word, and it was on the eastern side of the island. And then come Gary and Darlene, and when they did the Darlene map, they had the eastern part of the island was not part of the map. So the Lendor Isle had the misfortune of ending up on the border, and half of it got chopped. So I don't know if it was Darlene herself, or if it was Gary or Darlene, or if it was a Gary decision to move Laurel Tarma to a little island south of Lendor Isles that wasn't there originally, that ended up on the Darlene map. So it got spelled differently and moved to another area.
That was the number one thing he was pissed off
exactly
about.
He was pissed about that, and he told that 5 times on the show. And he also, in several other interviews that I read that Len gave over the years, he always complained about that. So we know, and I have some of the sketches and stuff on Lendor Isle. So we know that the town was named Laurel Tarma in one word, and it was on the northeastern coast of Lendor Isles originally. But, and here comes the interesting thing, subsequent maps that Len did himself, he moved it, changed the spelling, and seemed to have accepted the Darlene. So now we have, the tricky bit is that subsequent material from Len is actually fitting with the Darlene version of the Lendor Isles when it comes to Laurel Tarma. But he invented,
that's for the better.
Yes, and he invented a town on this big island side called Pelrel Tarma that is never mentioned anywhere except on his maps. And so now comes the big question. Should we go back to Len's original desire and use Laurel Tarma in one word and put it on the northeastern side? Or should we keep it spelled Laurel Tarma in 2 words and have it on that little island and add Pelrel Tarma on the island side? I'm beginning to think like we should, but maybe we shouldn't. So that's something I'm torn here. I don't really know which way to lean on, so to speak. So I'm going to post an article in Flanders Geographical Society, and we can see where the commons lead us, so to speak, and see where we can, where the community, what the community thinks. Should we go with Len's original vision, or should we accept the fact that it got changed in the publication or on the Darlene map, regardless if it was Gary or Darlene decision or something, and so on. So that's, I think, is going forward, that's a big issue that or we can maybe two different versions, but we should have like a main version and have an idea of it. So that's the, it would be great to see a map how it intended, but the problem is that there will be so many questions where people will say, oh, but it doesn't match Darlene, it doesn't match any of the other public sources. So it's kind of a tricky. We need to, and if we have, definitely need to make a version that fits that, no matter what, so to speak. That definite. But I'm thinking more of the public generic version of the map, so to speak. So that's something that I'm kind of struggling with a bit. Need to try and stand on as many legs as possible in that one. So that's part of it. And when I'm laying out the idea, I'm also reading a lot of the other materials, so we can kind of tweak in, find as many settlements and areas and stuff as possible. So I have the canvas ready or the sketch ready when I'm doing it, so to speak. So and then there is so that is progressing. It's that will come in hopefully within a month or so to have a kind of a base idea and sketched out and the basic terrain drawn for the new Lindor Isles. And then there's a whole bunch of technical changes and stuff. There's new versions of both World Machine and Gaia coming out that will change a lot of things. And so there is a lot of technical development this too. But that's not for this show. That's something I will post about going on forward.
Awesome.
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, all right, 4 streams in 5 nights. Tomorrow night, Anna says it's such a great title. There, Meth in the Sealed Fates. All
Yes.
right? So there you go. Sounds like a Dwarven rock band.
Yeah.
One of the Windborn was kidnapped in a trap that was set outside of Vinyamar Gardens, and this was an assault on the old ruined tower in the near Hearthguard Tower that was it was ruined ages ago during the Hateful Wars. And there, see, I barely have any space on here to fit all this in. Here's a nice close-up inside. That's what I love about Infinite Dimension stuff. Really neat. It was a really neat fight, and that's where we finished. We finished on last week, but we should finish it this week. Looking forward to ending that up, and that'll be tomorrow night. Reaper Miniatures is a sponsored giveaway for this one on. My God, my brain just shut off. Tomorrow, and then we have Saturday. We have an all-star game. Okay, so here are the 7 people playing in this. So we have Amy Crittenden, Anna, Time Lord's wife Kayla, Stella Luna, Chuck Cumbo, Mike Disney, and Bill the Master Crafter. All right, that's the group. It's an Order of Ulick adventure, and it takes place at the same time as the adventure from Thursday night takes place. And if you watched last week, they are in the bar at the same time, both groups, and it was going on exactly at the same time. So aren't I a tricky little soul? Yes. So there was interaction between the groups. And you got yes, it was a cameo. You got to remember Josh Death Dealer, who actually survived one round of the joust, is a member of this unnamed group, and that'll be on Saturday, and it'll be stratagem. We'll have some stratagem Wiz Dice sponsor giveaways for that. So that's 6 o'clock Eastern start time for this. I want 5 hours. Want to get this in. Investigations into the source. You can only imagine what I may put them up against in that one, and then we go to Sunday. Whoa, I'm hanging in there tonight, everyone. So Sunday night, and this one is going to be we're going to creating and enhancing magic items. That'll be a fun one. Josh did on horse. Yes, he did. Gitano. No, Grape, I talked to him. I talked to him via phone today. We're good. I talked to him. Chuck's good. So,
isn't Sir Reginald a senior citizen though?
Sir Reginald, he is old. He's old.
Yeah.
Yes, he is old, but he just, because he's dual class, and it's Tim
Probably
Cavalier,
would
who's
have fell out of
35
that
years
horse
old.
anyways.
Yes, but he was a Cavalier. He should have won. So we're going to go over some custom magic items I made, how enhancing a magic item is really easy, and just discuss some things Anna's made for her game. Like, maybe she'll go over Cronus's book, some
Yeah,
items.
I have to. Yeah, I only had the brief layout of it. Now I need to, because it will be inserted, I need to flesh out the details if they start experimenting with it. So I had to have every detail.
Well, if
I
they're
just had
0
to
level and they
skip
start
that.
experimenting with it, they're
Oh
not
yeah,
too bright.
things can go bad, go south
Yeah.
quickly. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then note that next Wednesday we're going to do Demi-Human Realms, I think is what we're going to do for Legends of Lore next week. And we may use the map feature I have set up here again. It worked very well.
It
may be
worked
the
really
easiest
well.
Thanks.
Yep.
And maybe the way to roll with
And also
Legends
that
of
you
Lore.
can switch between PDFs and the map like that. That was great.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do, so that may be the way we do it. And then I've lost the last banner I wanted to show, which is the big one. Another, well, here it is. Okay, so there we go. Ed Greenwood returns a week from Sunday. Okay, so I got Ed, Tony, and Eric Menke, and we're going to go over great libraries of Greyhawk and Candlekeep. like I said, I took heat from not saying it the other way around, but I said to Eric Menke, I said, this is a Greyhawk first stream, so you guys
Yeah.
got to live with it. And so,
Right.
So the Greyhawk libraries come before
Yes.
every other library.
You're gonna
Yep.
get Ed Greenwood to talk pages from the mages.
I'm
Yeah.
going to get Ed Greenwood to
Amazing.
I'm going to
Oh
get
yes.
Ed
Yep.
Greenwood to talk about a lot of stuff, and we're going to get to
Mhm.
ask Ed Greenwood a lot of questions
Yep.
as well. And yes, so and now the threat of the renegade. Note that I have a ton of names from post Gary Con we're working on. None of the other ones have confirmed yet. I'm looking to get some confirmations from like 5 individuals that we've reached out to. I have not gotten any confirmations yet, and they're big names. So sit tight. We should have some other great guests coming. Just a matter of time. Another big announcement. The ever mysterious Tim, and I think it's going to be once every 2 to 3 months, is going to be running a Saturday night / morning special. And it's going to be, he's going to have his, and he mentioned this on Sunday night, he's going to have first level barbarian group called the War Dogs or something. And so congrats to the following. All right. If I missed someone, I apologize, but I know that he did this. He personally invited them. He invited Prometheus is in, right? Dwayne, Canadian Ancient Gamer, Patrick. I heard Casey, somehow you weaseled your way in there. Draco. He's in. Antiquitous is in. Kayla is in, Time Lord's wife. And Chuck. I think that's it.
Mhm.
So,
great.
and I don't think, it'll be like as long as 4 out of 6 are there, then he'll be running it. So, you didn't have to weasel, he says. That's good. So, but yeah, that'll be roughly what the group is for. Yeah, it'll be a nice group, and it'll be Tim, and I'll just produce it and sit back again. But it'd probably be Saturday mornings, like a late morning thing, So, that'll be.
Like
The
4
Babunski is playing again. Yeah,
Pacific.
Babunski is playing this Saturday in my game with Josh
Yeah.
Death Dealer. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, he is. So that's what's going on. I probably missed some other things, but let's do the giveaways. Sound good, everyone?
Oh,
Last
yeah.
call. All right,
Yeah.
last call for signups. First one, claim it, get your pick. Either goes CSL $25 or Reaper $25. Okay. Alrighty. So hey, that's all right. I mean, I don't care if you just got in here. You're a streamer, so it's fine. No biggie. Plus, you live on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
It's okay. No biggie. No biggie. So let me close this out. Closing it out. Entries are closed. The winner, number 1, is what's going to be Armin. Geek Puppets. Geek Puppets. I know you're on.
Hey.
Do you want
Yep,
the Castle Entertainment 25 or the Reaper 25 Geek Puppet? You tell me. Which one would you like? Carlos CSL Entertainment, where you can get a horror in the holes if you don't have it, or the Reaper. Your call. Reaper. There we go. All right, the winner of the CSL $25 gift certificate is Armin.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was quick. Yep.
What the hell?
And that's good. You can get all PDFs, so you don't have to worry about shipping across the sea. There you go. So, congrats. Hey, man.
I think that was the second time someone just
17-hour
came straight in and
difference.
won.
17-hour difference. It's all good. I will send you your codes over. Now, please hang in there. Let's raid Guild Superior. I think he's running Ghost of Salt Marsh.
Cool.
So we're gonna raid into Guild Superior. Thank you all. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Mike. What a great show. Double hype train tonight, and also massive audience.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you everyone for awesome comments, good ideas, and helping out.
What a
like
blast.
crazy. Yep.
So we're gonna raid into them now, and Jay's gonna hit a right button here, hopefully, and see you all tomorrow night. See you. All right, raid setting up. So if you haven't followed them, give them a follow, okay? Help them out here. Newer stream. Let's see if we can get over 70. That'd be awesome. Wow, 80.
Wow.
Nice. 81.
That
5,
is
4,
good.
3, 2, 1. See you tomorrow night. 82. Wow. That's a massive raid.
Yeah. think this was one of the
Good for Wednesday.
best shows
Yep.
that we've had without having any big guests or anything like that. When
Oh
we
my
just
gosh, yeah.
waffled on, all three of us. I think this was one of the best waffle ones we've had. Yeah.